meters an hour. Thursday, supposed to be a little bit cooler, all the way down to 7 on Thursday evening with some light winds out of the north-northwest. Friday, partly to mostly sunny, a high of 23 and some light winds out of the northwest. Saturday, partly sunny, high of 23. And for Sunday, spotty showers and thunderstorms, a high of 22. Right now in downtown Regina, it's mostly cloudy and 23 degrees.
B&A Petroleum is a Southern Saskatchewan family-owned business that's there for you. They've been supporting their clients for over 30 years with locations in several communities throughout the southern part of the province. B&A Petroleum is available for all your bulk fuel and lubricant needs with propane at selected locations Monday to Friday. And don't forget, their Cardlock location is accessible 24 hours for your convenience. B&A Petroleum. Fuel you once, fuel you forever.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products. RMP summer offer on now until August 6262. The Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Good afternoon. Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz with you on this Wednesday Sportscage. Ahead on today's edition of the program, University of Regina Rams summer-fall camp starts very, very soon, and we'll give you a preview as to what's ahead on the Rams season. AJ Jakubec is the broadcaster on the radio for the Ottawa Redblacks. He'll join us in hour 3. Could he be the one to broadcast the very first 0-18 season in football history? Probably not quite a 50-50 shot at it, but there's a chance.
I thought you were going to say broadcast the first Redblacks win of the season.
I think that's doubtful. Not this week anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
The odds are long. But hey, I'm not a gambler, but hey, if people like to play the odds, maybe this is your week to strike it rich. I wouldn't advise it. Scott Schultz will join us for the midweek sound-off, brought to you by Lakeview Insurance and Revive Men's Health Clinic. Also, we've got lots of stuff to talk about from Rider practice. We'll get you ready for the game on Friday night against the Ottawa Redblacks. Pick the score, Sports Select, Sprinkle of the Day, and lots more. Of course, you can call in on our toll-free number, 1-866-767-0620, or on the text line, 306-936-6262. We'll play Pick the Score in just moments, and the injury report for this week just came out, and some of the players who we know are out include Albert Awachi, Tavon Campbell. Those are both really big losses, especially Tavon Campbell because he's such a ratio breaker. I suspect that they will use Bell, the other defensive back, to fill in for him, and it'll be curious where they find that 7th Canadian starter. Maybe Thomas Bertrand-Hudon at running back. They've toyed with that in the past as well, and it doesn't give them flexibility to use a 4th American O-line if they ever choose to do that. This would not be the week to do it because of the injury situation. Zach Fry is still out on the O-line, and James Letcher Jr. is out. Ali Saad, the defensive lineman, is out. And the big one, Kian Schaefer-Baker, is out. And so if Sam Emelis is still questionable, boy, that would be a big loss because they're already without Emelis, and if he can't go again this week, that's your 2 best Canadian receivers right there who are out of the lineup. They're already having to rely on Deshaun Mims and Daniel Weeb, and probably a little more on Del Duncan Busby again this week as well. So we'll talk about it, and you can see the report there on our screen for those of you watching on the YouTube feed at Sportscage, and this is the same YouTube feed that you'll be able to listen to the Rough Rider broadcast on Friday. Longest, best broadcast in the country. You can watch the pregame show and the postgame and listen to Dave and Luke in between in this game against the Ottawa Redblacks, which looks like a trap game, if nothing else, but certainly the odds are very much on the side of the Saskatchewan Roughriders in this game. I almost wonder if this is a good week to play Ottawa if Schaefer-Baker and Emelis can't go, because they just might be able to pull it out even without both of those guys. They would still be favored quite heavily, I think, for the most part. Ottawa would have a tough time beating Saskatchewan, even with all those guys out.
And it's Hamilton next week, too, so...
But they do have to go on the road, but with their quarterback situation, yeah, these are very winnable games no matter how many injuries the Saskatchewan Roughriders have out of the lineup. Also, pick the score. We'll go ahead and play that. So anybody who wants to win some tickets to the game, and I'll go through it. Listeners get 3 chances to call in every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on 620 CKRM mornings, middays, and the Sportscage. Pick the score of the next Rider game. The closest guess to the actual score each week will win a $200 SaskTel gift card. And just for playing, you will automatically win 2 tickets to the next Rider home game. And if the last crowd is any indication, those tickets are going to be tougher and tougher to come by as the season carries on, especially through Labor Day. This week's game, to pick the score, the 0-7 Ottawa Redblacks visiting the 5-2 Saskatchewan Roughriders, and it's a game the Riders just got to have if they're going to stay right in the thick of it in that hunt for first place with the Edmonton Elks. Friday night kickoff at 7 o'clock. Text your answer to 306-936-6262.
And leave your name. I need that to give you the tickets.
That's always the disclaimer. Hey, we don't want to be chasing you around. We're not going to chase you around for your name, figuring out who you are. So make sure on your text you leave your name and put your pick for the score in this game on Friday night. Dylan DeJetti, a Quebec guy who is a receiver in Riders in their camp. He was injured a while back, and now he's good to go. He's practicing, and he's healthy enough to play, and our very own Dave Thomas caught up with him this week down at practice.
Well, you came running over, Dylan, and the first thing we said is, finally. How does it finally feel to be back practicing, be back a part of this team after battling through like you did with injury right from the onset of camp?
It's a blessing. I thank God for everything. It's been hard. It's been hard, but they trusted me. I trusted in the process. I trusted in them, and I'm just glad to be out there. It's just a blessing, especially for this team and what they're doing right now. So I just want to come in and do what I got to do.
Obviously, the team and the fans love what they see on film from you, so there was a lot of anticipation in your arrival in Riderville that had to be postponed due to getting a little bit nicked up prior to coming. So how did you process that mentally to ensure that, hey, I'm here, I can show what I can do still?
It's just showing up every day. It's doing my job and doing what I'm supposed to do and not really overthink the process. So I'm not thinking about playing a game when I'm got an injury, So I thought about my injury and just taking mental reps, watching the guys. We got the best receiver in the league, so I'm blessed to see, like before I even touch the field, I get to see greatness. So I got to replicate that on the field when I come in.
So tell me, how did you grasp a playbook when you physically can't maybe do that and you have to, like you say, take mental reps solely?
It was hard. Like, I'm on the phone with my girlfriend, and she on mute, and I'm on 2 hours just writing plays. Like, I got, I think, 3 notebooks full of plays. So it was just, for me, you just got to know how you learn plays. And I know for me, I got to draw everything. So every night I come and I draw, I watch film, I watch how they run their routes, and I try to duplicate that. So that's why I can plug in and play after 3 practice with them.
How is it fitting in with the group? Because this seems to be a very tight team, and even though you maybe couldn't participate on the field, were you included in everything else?
Yeah, I mean, them guys made me feel like home, especially Sam and everybody. So, like Keyshawn and all them boys, like, I'm young, so I'm 22. I'm about to be 23 in a few days, but I'm 22. They they're pushing 30. So, it's that age gap, but they made me feel like they was big brothers and everything. And even with the injury, they understood everything and trying to, make it easier. So, yeah.
Not only age, but also experience. They've got a lot of it. You got your first taste of experience in a game. Mm-hmm. What was that process like, finding out and processing, okay, I got to be ready to go just in case, and then getting the call?
I was ready. I've been ready since I stepped 1 foot here. So I've been preparing myself for this moment. So it wasn't like I was smiling the whole time, though. I was on the field just smiling because I just had memories of what I went through. So for 2 months watching them guys showing up every day and not being able to practice, and on my first day coming out, I played in the game. So it was just a blessing.
What were the nerves like when you found out, hey, you're in?
It was excitement. I would say it's excitement. Because sometimes I'd be a little nervous, but I try to push it into excitement. So I was really excited, and I was just blessed to have the opportunity.
You have a great pedigree behind you with college education and, of course, what you did in high school, getting that far. What were you able to take away from those experiences to prepare you for your first professional experience?
I would say I just grasp everything. So I'm like a sponge. So everything that I saw in high school, everything that I went through, injuries, playbook being harder, I just had to took everything in my baggage and just use it for this opportunity. So
I said to you one day at training camp, I remember it vividly after watching some film, trying to learn more about you. I'm like, I can't wait to see you on the field. What do you bring to this team? Can you explain to Rider Nation what your film suggests?
A playmaker, somebody who's a little bit like Sam. I would say I see myself in Sam. That's why I try to grasp the more that I can from Sam. I'm somebody who makes the plays. I might not be the fastest, I'm probably one of the quickest, but I'm not the biggest and everything. I just make plays. I just love to play football. I'm a football player, and I just bring energy. When I make plays, I try to bring energy and flip the momentum.
Quali Conley has a great saying, no block, no rock. There's a lot of the receivers in this team asked to do a lot of blocking. Do you fit into that?
Oh, yeah. That's why they draft me here. If you watch my college, I got at least one pancake every game. I pride myself in that because as a receiver, you're not getting the ball. You might get the ball 8 times. That's a lot, 8 times during the whole game. So what you're doing the 40 of the snaps or 60 of the snaps is blocking. So, yeah.
It's great to see 80 on the field. Congratulations on your CFL debut, and here's to seeing you in more game action with the Riders. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is our very own Dave Thomas in conversation with Dylan DeJetti, one of their Canadian receivers, and I have a feeling he might be called 2-day via rail ride from Vancouver to Jasper, so they take you through the Rocky Mountains, 2 nights hotel accommodation, or just take $8,000 cash and just hang out here. Deadline for the early bird is Thursday night, tomorrow at 10 p.m. Go to Riders5050.ca. We're going to step aside for our first break on this edition of the Sports Cage. Coming up next, the Junior Football Report with Dave Thomas. You're listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. We're watching at sportscage.com.
Rider Nation lives on 620 CKRM. I'm Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Friday is game day as the Riders take on the Ottawa Redblacks. Countdown to kickoff with Tegan Whitco and Wes Cates is at 4. The pregame show's at 6, and kickoff with Luke Mullender and I is at 7. Saskatchewan Roughrider football on the Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network is brought to you by UFA, Steelcraft Doors, Stars Lottery, Salford Group, and Sask NDP Caucus.
Stream every moment of Rider football at Sportscage.com.
You've always wanted good tires, even back when you had your Diamondback or Kuwahara BMX, taking it off totally rad jumps with your buddies. Now your tires are for your family's safety, which is also rad. Rad drivers go to your local Cooper tire dealer. They carry Cooper Cobra Instinct tires. They bring your car to a shorter stop on wet roads and have decisive maneuvering and sporty performance. Visit your local Cooper tire dealer and ask for Cooper Cobra Instinct tires.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
What's the deal with carpet? You vacuum it every week, and it still acts like it's collecting evidence.
No matter what flooring you need, the experienced local team at Flooring Superstore can help you find the right fit for your home and your budget. Whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, vinyl, linoleum, artificial turf, floors for gyms, they've got it all.
You know, that's actually a really good deal.
Flooring Superstore. Quality floor covering at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
Is it time to refresh your cottage this summer? It's easy with lakeside deliveries from Freeze Tallman. Whether you're rebuilding the deck, fixing the dock, or taking on a full cabin project, Freeze Tallman delivers the building materials you need right to the lake. With reliable service and delivery you can count on, you'll spend less time running around and more time enjoying the weekend. Start your summer project at freezetallman.com. Freeze Tallman. Locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years.
Why test for asbestos? Because before 1990, asbestos was commonly used in more than 3,000 building materials and other products. Because when asbestos fibers become airborne, they get into the lungs and cause severe damage over time. Because asbestos exposure is the #1 cause of work-related deaths in Saskatchewan. Built before 1990? Test for asbestos. Start at worksafesask.ca.
Welcome back to Sports Cage. Check out our podcast powered by Freeze Tolman. Available anytime, anywhere at 620ckrm.com and sportscage.com.
It's football on a Wednesday. Later, we will talk with Mark McConkey, the head coach of the Regina Rams. Well, he gets a little bit of a breather before training camp. I think the Rams are going to be really good this year. Their offense is going to be really explosive. It should be. Also, AJ Jakubec, the radio broadcaster of the Ottawa Redblacks, who's an Edmonton guy, but spent a lot of his early broadcast years in Saskatchewan doing SJHL games for the Melfort Mustangs and some other teams. And Scott Schultz, the 96er, will be by with his midweek sound-off brought to you by Lakeview Insurance and Revive Men's Health Clinic. Yesterday, we had teased what the Ottawa Redblacks have been through since Trevor Harris left at the end of the 2018 season, and it was reported that he and then Redblacks general manager Marcel Desjardins had a difference of like $50,000 or something like that for what he was to be paid as quarterback, and AJ Jakubec, who will be on later, has since said that that's not really clear if they shortchanged him or if he wanted to leave. Nobody's really sure about that. But at any rate, everything happens for a reason. But in the this is year number 8 since he has left Ottawa. There was a 1 year they didn't play because of COVID, but this is the 7th season where the Redblacks have had to function without him, and they have not replaced him.
Nope. And like I said yesterday, teased at the end of the show yesterday, Curtis whipped up this fancy graphic, so I'll throw it up here and then explain it to the radio listeners. But Ottawa's record since Trevor Harris has left is 27, 83, and 1. And then on the left side of the graphic here, we have a list of all of the quarterbacks who have started at least one game in that time frame. And you can see some of them, their, what's that called? Their win-loss ratio there. Some of them are in red, some are in green. If it's in green, that means that they have performed better than the Redblacks have. So
still not good records. They're still all under 500 too.
Exactly.
But still better than the Redblacks.
Yeah, because the Redblacks have a win record of 24.32%. This is up to date to the last week. And then all of the quarterbacks here, 5 quarterbacks have a better than 25% win percentage.
So they're basically winning 4 games a season when you look at that. That's
Pretty
about
much
what it amounts to with that win percentage. They're either 4-14 or 4-13-1. Dreadful, and to be that consistently that bad for this long is really remarkable. I don't think the Roughriders in their 11-year playoff drought were that bad.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out, I think Tyree Adams, who started 3 games, is probably the best winning percentage on here, or maybe Drew Brown, but either way.
Have to be Drew Brown for sure, but Adams would be second. Yeah, because he's at least won half as many games as he's lost. Yeah, Drew Brown was the best player they had, and to be fair, he did get them to the postseason in 24. The Redblacks weren't so bad that year. In fact, the Roughriders couldn't beat them in Ottawa. Now they were without Trevor Harris, and I don't think AJ Ouellette played that game either. But still, that's the 1 year that they were decent. But if the king of your mountain is going 9-9 or around 500 and still not hosting a playoff game, that's pretty bad. So that's a pretty long drought.
So yeah, Ottawa, and also I didn't even count how many quarterbacks that was. I think it's almost 15. You know.
Oh, that's chump change. The Cleveland Browns have probably had more than that over that period. But Tyree Adams, you show that list if you want to bring it one more time. Tyree Adams, I thought looked impressive, but he just couldn't stay healthy. Like he came on, and I make it sound like he was injury prone. He came out once, he looked exciting for 3 games, got injured, and you never saw him again. He's with BC now, and he may or may not get a shot out there. Nick Arbuckle has proven that he's okay. He's still a backup, but I think at this point he's probably good enough to be a starter when you look at the numbers he put up last year.
And 3-7 is probably 3rd best on this list, maybe 4th too.
Right. And I'm not even sure that Drew Brown is the greatest either. Like he looked pretty good in Winnipeg for the first couple starts, but there were issues there too. Like he missed a lot of action. He shut himself down early and was not particularly beloved with his teammates. But holy doodle, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
And it reminds me so much because when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, I remember Ottawa was just hanging on for dear life. And they were really bad back then, and the Renegades weren't much better. And so when they came back as the Redblacks, the whole narrative was, this is going to be like your granddaddy's Ottawa Roughriders, like of Russ Jackson and Tom Clements and Tony Gabriel and et cetera, et cetera.
We're going back to the 80s and earlier.
Yeah. And you know what? They had a brief flash of it, and it actually went better than probably anybody could have imagined those first few years. The first year, they weren't very good, but 2015, they're in the Grey Cup. 2016, they win the Grey Cup, and then they were still competitive for a couple more years. It really, their competitive window was 4 years, 2015 through 2018. And you really could draw a line at when Trevor Harris left, that they just have not been able to recover. And they've tried different coaches. That we know they've tried lots of different quarterbacks, and they just haven't been able to make a system work. And I don't know. It's funny how they have morphed back into what the modern day Ottawa Roughriders were at the end of their history.
Yeah, because before Harris, it was just Burris, right? It was just, those were their two starting quarterbacks. There might have been an injury here and there where a secondary started, right? But it was really just those two quarterbacks. And since then, it's just been a revolving door. And even looking at this list again, there are 5 quarterbacks who have not won a game, but have started a game for the Ottawa Redblacks. Now, 2 of them were 0-1, but Will Arndt at 0-3, Jonathan Jennings 0-6, and then Jake Mayer currently at 0-7. That's not looking great either.
Yeah, Dinwiddie got a lot of rope when he went to Ottawa to be their head coach, and which I would have given to him too. I thought that was a good move for everybody. I thought it was good for the league, good for him. I gave him a lot of credit for the way he handled it, because when the Argonauts said, yeah, you can go talk to Ottawa, and the Argonauts were thinking that, okay, he'll get an offer, he'll come back, and then we'll just match it. And that would have been kind of dirty, I think, for him to use that as leverage. Instead, he just went to them and said, what do you want to give me? They said, we'll give you this. Good enough for me. And he went. And so you can tell he was not dying to get back to the Argonauts. So his stock was probably only going to go down if he stayed in Toronto, and might have gone down further because of what's happening in Ottawa. But if he can have success, and he still could, right? We don't know how much rope he's going to get, but if he can get it turned around in Ottawa, his stock is really going to rise.
Yeah, and I think the question is, at what point does his stock drop far enough that you have to make a decision about him, right? Because you're 0-7, but
you don't have to give him multiple years. If it's bad enough, he can be gone in less than a year. We've seen that before. We've seen that in Saskatchewan. Greg Marshall went 1-7, and they got rid of him before Labor Day.
Yeah, but he was just the head coach. Dinwiddie's the head coach and the GM.
Yeah,
right?
I don't make too much of that, because titles are one thing. I mean, so often teams will throw out the assistant head coach title and make it sound like it's a promotion. But what does that really mean? The head coach is still the head coach.
It's a way to justify paying them an extra $10,000 or whatever, so that they stay, right? It's that kind of a thing.
And they're structured in a way that Sean Burke, it sounds like, still does a lot of the general manager stuff that he did beforehand. They're probably not real high on Sean Burke as the general manager, because he's been there long enough now, and the team still hasn't consistently got it turned around. But I see your point. Yeah, it's a little more complicated. Or it could be a situation where maybe he gets told that he has to relinquish one of the titles. And I've seen that happen before too.
It's true. The only reason I'm saying it's a little different is because he has come to this team. This is his first season here. He has not been given an opportunity to be a general manager for the team very much, right? I know they signed a bunch of the Rough Rider players and a bunch of other free agents and stuff, but it's their first year. He hasn't been given an opportunity to bring in the players that he wants as a manager and then coach them as the coach and develop them into the team that he wants, right?
I think he would have had a little more rope if the blow up with Drew Brown hadn't happened.
Absolutely.
I think if they had kept him around and maybe even just let him be the starter right out of the gate, and if he fell flat on his face, then that would have. I think the fact that he kicked Drew Brown out before any, I think it was even before any preseason snaps, when he declared that Jake Mayer was going to be the starter. It's like, if you're going to talk loud, Jack, you put yourself out there. So if Drew Brown gets healthy and Winnipeg keeps winning and Ottawa still doesn't have an answer, regardless of what happens in Winnipeg, if things are just rolling downhill at an uncontrollable pace and they keep breaking records, or I said breaking records. They're approaching records. They haven't broken the losing streak record yet, but they're getting very close. They lose this game in Regina. That's 14 straight regular season losses. That ties the 1994 Shreveport Pirates, who were a disgrace. So that's pretty bad. You're trending in a really bad territory. And when I look at the way they perform, they just look like a group that has something internally wrong with them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their defense, it's not their, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And when a team is constantly, if your defense is giving up 30 to 40 points a game, that's a little easier, right? Because they did fire the defensive coordinator, and sometimes it's as simple as that. I think the point that Dinwiddie has made is that he wants his defenders to not think so much and just be told, okay, let's get back to basics. Do what you're doing, but do it better. Instead of all these different formations, just worry about these and get back to doing what you know how to do. But I also struggle to believe that William Fields, who had lots of success as a defensive assistant under Ryan Dinwiddie in Toronto, all of a sudden forgot to how to coach. And maybe he doesn't have the horses. I don't know. We'll see. But again, then that's not his fault either.
But the Drew Brown thing, I do remember Dinwiddie said, when he was getting there, we're going to have an open competition at quarterback. He said that from day one when he was getting there, right? Because Mayer and Brown were paid about the same. Stock-wise, they were pretty much the same in the league, right? So he said from day one that's what was happening, and I don't think Drew Brown liked that, and I think that soured things from day one. Now, one of the two of them is going to have to take the high road if they wanted to work things out, and I guess neither of them did. So I'm not pinning it all on Dinwiddie for that, though in light of Drew Brown winning a game before the Redblacks did, it definitely doesn't look good for him.
Especially to win it in Ottawa against the Redblacks. And Dinwiddie, he's known to let his emotions get the better of him too, even as a coach, and get into trash talk with some of the players on the other teams. So, it'll be something to watch. But I guess the point I'm getting at is I think getting that first win is just going to get tougher and tougher because the more that talk creeps up about going 0-18, that's going to get tougher. I mean, I've been talking about it a lot in the last couple of days. I don't think too many other people around the league are. I think if it gets to 0-9 or 0-10, then you're going to see that chatter happen, or even if they tie the record, as we mentioned, with a loss in Regina on Friday night.
Well, let's look at their schedule real quick. I'm just curious who Ottawa's playing, because they're obviously playing us next.
Right.
But
well, they've got a lot of tough games. They got a lot of Western games left because they've been playing a lot of Eastern teams. They've played Edmonton twice, so that helps because Edmonton looks pretty good.
Yeah, so they're visiting us this week, and then next week on Friday, they're back-to-back Friday night football games. They're in Winnipeg. Then they're then they're at Montreal. They got 3 road games back-to-back.
And if Caleros isn't back yet, that game in Ottawa could be winnable for them, too. And they played Winnipeg tough. For some weird reason, the old Ottawa franchise never had this success, but the Redblacks do. They play really well in Calgary. For some really strange, unexplainable reason, they've always done well in Calgary. They beat the Stampeders in a Grey Cup and then lost another. But yeah, there's a lot of football left to be played, and it's maybe a little premature, but it's fun to talk about the thought of them making history, running the table in reverse and trying to figure out why they're just so bad and why they're losing the ways they are. I thought the loss to Montreal was a little different, where they just got outclassed and run over. Most of their games haven't been that way. I think more of their losses have been reminiscent of the way they lost to Saskatchewan when they built up a 10-0 lead early, and it was that one bad thing that happened that just totally derailed their train, because they're not strong enough mentally to overcome that adversity.
Yeah.
They're too fragile. And they have to get a little bit tougher mentally, I think. I think it's a mental thing. And if you blame that on the coach now or the coach they had before, maybe the coach now is just having a hard time changing them. It's still too early to say. But for a first-year head coach, I would have to think that Ryan Dinwiddie is going to start to feel warmer under the collar the longer the streak keeps going. And if they, even if they do lose this game in Saskatchewan on Friday night. Don't forget, you can text. Sorry, you were going to add to that?
Yeah, I was just looking at their schedule again here, and so they've got the next 2 Friday night games us and then Winnipeg next week.
On the road?
Yeah, both on the road. Then they're on the road in Montreal. Then they host BC. Then they're at Toronto, at Calgary, host Calgary. And then we're into October, and they host Hamilton, play in BC, host Toronto, play in Hamilton. So they play Hamilton twice in October and Toronto once. Now, Toronto's currently better than Hamilton at the quarterback position. But one of those two games, they might be able to beat Hamilton unless Hamilton can figure things out and is fighting for a playoff spot. Then I don't know. They might be able to actually go 0-18. The other thing is 3 of those 4 games in October are Friday night games again. How did Ottawa end up with 5 Friday night games?
In prime time
in the fall. How did this happen?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a 9-team league. It's not easy. They're they're not one of the top 3 big markets. Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. It kind of makes you wonder if anybody put any serious thought into this. And if they didn't, that wouldn't be the first time the CFL did it.
I'm not advocating for the Riders on every other Friday night. Don't get me wrong. I like having my Friday nights with not having to work a football game. But there's a few bigger TV audiences for teams in the CFL than Ottawa. Just my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'll be really curious to see how it goes. And I think there's a lot of danger for Saskatchewan in this game because if they have more guys out, if Emelis can't go, and we already know they're going to be without Schaefer Baker, I think they could be in some serious danger here. But we'll
just keep feeding Quali Conley, see what he can do.
Well, we'll talk about it some more. Coming up on this edition of the Sports Cage, we will check in with Scott Schultz in Hour 3 with his midweek sound off. But right now, we want to go to the Junior Football Report with Dave Thomas.
This is the Sports Cage Junior Football Report with Dave Thomas.
They're back. Junior football returns to the Prairies with this weekend's opening of the Prairie Football Conference regular season. There's no change in Saskatchewan, with the defending Canadian Bowl champion Saskatoon Hilltops and their provincial rival, the Regina Thunder, expected to be top contenders for the league championship once again this season. And while that isn't new, what is in the Queen City is who will be under center for the Thunder. Head coach Scott McCauley has decided to hand the reins to second-year quarterback Jaden Zelionka.
Yeah, I guess the secret's out. You know, it's not can't hide it anymore. But we made a couple changes during the offseason. One of them is to go with Jaden Zelionka as our number 1 quarterback. You know, he's very athletic. He's very driven. And then also we have another guy, like it's kind of like 1A, 1B, but the other guy is Eric Carew, and he's a real tall kid, like probably like 6'4", and strong arm. You're very smart, able to read the play and stuff as well. So we have a good 1-2 punch, but I'm excited to see what they have to bring to the table.
Protecting the young pivot will be a group of offensive linemen that includes Brazilian rookie Arthur Santos Labayo. McCauley explained how the young man from South America ended up in Saskatchewan.
It's just weird. That's it. There's this guy in Montreal. His name's Glad Charmant. And so the bottom line is that I don't even know how we became friends, but became friends. And I actually brought a couple kids in from Montreal a couple of years ago. And, you know, I just kept it on Instagram. And next thing I know, he just reposted like a highlight reel of this kid from one of his buddies that he met at the World Cup for football. And this guy was the head coach of the Brazilian national team. So I just saw this. I'm like, who is this guy? How old is he? And, that's how it started. And he introduced me to the coach, and coach seemed like a great guy and told me all about the kid. And I met with the kid and his young man, and his English one was pretty darn good, and seemed like a great guy. And so at the end of the day, like it's going to work out well for us. He's very athletic. He's strong. He's mean. He understands the game. So that's great. But even if it didn't, you kind of create a bit of that exchange program. Maybe some of our kids can go down to Brazil and play for a little while and experience the world. So
McCauley's also excited by his Regina Thunder defense and what they'll bring this season.
Wow, we're feeling pretty confident. Our D line is like loaded. Like I think that's our strength of our team, and we have a lot of guys that are in their 4th and 5th year, and they're big and they're strong, and they've been playing the league for a while. And we think we have like 6 or 7 guys that can easily rotate and be the guy. And then, defensive back, like we pretty much have everybody, like several of our starters, like returning and stuff. And so we expect our defensive backs to be veteran laced and also flying around and And then at linebacker, we lost 2 guys on the inside, but we have 4 guys in camp right now that, again, are competing for that spot. And, again, you got guys that year 1, year 2 are learning. Now they're year 3. It's time for them to step up, and they truly have during this off season. And I think the one thing that's going with the defense is that there's so many veterans back that you're sort of like taking off where you were last year and moving forward, right? They understand the defense. They know sort of like what the concepts are. And so now you can kind of drill it down even more, and you can use them to sort of, coach up the young guys all the time as well.
The offensive backfield will see running back Peter Borscht return after a 2025 campaign that saw him run for over 1,300 yards, earning him a spot on the Saskatchewan Roughriders practice roster. McConkey isn't worried about the 21-year-old becoming overconfident.
He's a pretty humble person to begin with. And, even though he's able to practice with the Riders, he's bringing a lot of stuff that they do back to us. And when he's on the field, he's out there kind of like that extra coach, So in regards to like kind of keeping him grounded and stuff, it's been fairly easy. And, the other thing is that we also have like 2 other backs that are extremely good as well. So we just brought a kid named Owen Istis in. He's from Weyburn originally, that went to Mount Ellison. And so he's back with us, and we're expecting him to get, probably his fair share of carries and stuff as well. And I think, at the end of the year, you're going to be talking about 2 guys for sure, guaranteed, that are carrying the rock for the Regina Thunder. So we hope to be set up that we're going to put them all in good situations to be successful and let them both feed off each other. And I think they'll do that and try to keep both healthy, going into the end of the year.
In Regina, the focus remains on challenging for a championship, despite the graduation of some key veterans.
We're young, but I think by week 4 or 5, we're going to be where we exactly need to be. And, at the beginning of the year, we're going to take some lumps, and we're going to have to learn from those lumps. But again, I feel like we have a very athletic team, and it's not going to come down to them not knowing what their assignments are. It's just going to be learning about the flow of the game and stuff, and the very athletics are going to be able to pick it up pretty quick.
McConkey and the Regina Thunder open the season Sunday in Edmonton, where they'll take on the Wildcats. Up Highway 11 in Saskatoon, the Hilltops are ready to defend their 24th Canadian Championship. Head coach Tom Sargent's team beat their alumni for the first time in 7 years in his team's annual tune-up game last week. He's excited for this year's group, which may even be stronger than last year's championship team.
The opportunity to take a team that I believe is, last year the football gods were sort of shining on us, and we were a team of perseverance that, just kept their mouth shut, kept their nose down, and just kept working. I think this year's team got a little more talent. We're going to be pretty exposed. We're going to be fun to watch, and ultimately, players make plays. Coaches got to do a great job during the process of getting everyone in the right spots to do the right things. But, hey, we're the defending national champs. We take that with a great honor and a privilege. And, you get that blue and gold uniform, get on the field. Yeah, we're going to be pretty tough this year.
The Hilltops open the season Sunday in Winnipeg. And that's the Junior Football Report. I'm Dave Thomas.
What's the deal with flooring? Apparently, there are 75 shades of rustic oak.
No matter what flooring you need, the experienced local team at Flooring Superstore can help you find the right fit for your home and your budget. Whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, vinyl, linoleum, artificial turf, floors for gyms, they've got it all.
If your decorating instincts have always missed the mark, maybe it's time you do the opposite. Visit Flooring Superstore.
Flooring Superstore. Quality floor covering at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
Winter in Saskatchewan tests everything, our patience, vehicles, and sometimes our bumpers. From icy parking lot dings to serious highway mishaps, choosing local matters. At Regina Motor Products Collision Center, we're Saskatchewan owned, run, and we drive these roads too. An SGI accredited full-service collision center working on all makes and models. Submit your SGI claim and book your appraisal. It's easy. When you need repairs you can trust, it's neighbors helping neighbors. Regina Motor Products Collision Center, south at Highways 1 and 6 Albert Street, rmpchevrolet.com.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR 260010.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home,
you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
Is it time to refresh your cottage this summer? It's easy with lakeside deliveries from Free Stallman. Whether you're rebuilding the deck, fixing the dock, or taking on a full cabin project, Free Stallman delivers the building materials you need right to the lake. With reliable service and delivery you can count on, you'll spend less time running around and more time enjoying the weekend. Start your summer project at freestallman.com. Free Stallman. Locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. From power tools to skid steers, they probably have what you need for your job. 600 Albert Street, where you deal with the owner. Welcome back to Sportscage. Get social with us. Follow us on X at Sportscage. Watch our video stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz getting you all ready for Friday night's game between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Ottawa Redblacks. Still ahead on this edition of the program, we'll check in with the Regina Rams. Head coach Mark McConkey's team getting ready for training camp. A lot of people expecting big things from the Rams out of Canada West. Might have their number one quarterback healthy for a full season, knock on wood. And of course, we're going to talk more about this trap game that the Roughriders have on Friday night. I dug out the mouse trap today. Put it in the shed. My daughter and I were out there, and there was a mouse the one day a few years ago, so we had to get mouse traps, and haven't seen a mouse anywhere in our yard since. But I see a lot of NFL coaches and college football coaches use these mouse traps. They put them up in their lockers, or at least we hear stories of it. I don't know if anybody actually does that. I'm going to ask Scott Schultz about it. But one thing I wanted to ask him about, too, was the Rough Rider team that he played on in 2003 had a very similar situation where they were heavily favored to beat a Ticat squad that was like 0-12, 0-13, threatening to set that record. And the Riders lost. So that was kind of a kick in the you-know-what, because the Riders were actually pretty good that year. So just because you have a good record and the other side is winless doesn't guarantee you nothing. But the fact that the Riders are playing at home on Friday night would make it a little more daunting for Ottawa to come in here and get a victory. We're going to do the Sports Select Sprinkle of the Day, but before we do that, we've been talking a little bit about the the defensive back situation. Tavon Campbell is questionable, and if he can't go, that is a huge problem for the Rough Riders, as we saw late last season. Our very own Dave Thomas caught up with James Burgess Jr. at practice this week.
Well, first and foremost, you haven't been here long, but you already got some game action under your feet. Tell me what that experience was like.
It was wonderful to go out there and really contribute to the gameplay and make some plays out there. It felt good to really get out there and do me.
You know, I was looking back, and if you go through team by team that you were with your NFL experience, it's a long list. What did you take away from those experiences to bring to Saskatchewan Roughriders as a professional defensive back?
From those experiences, I can say what I brought with me is to always believe in yourself and know yourself, and know that you are a ball player and you're going to get that ball.
Now, it had been a while between games. When was the last time you played in a game, and who was it with?
Oh, man. It's been a minute. I haven't played like a real game since college, actually. So it's 2024. I don't even remember my last game in 2024. It was probably, I think we played Tuskegee, Alabama State.
I think you're right, actually, and maybe I'm wrong. I'll take the one for being wrong, but you get into game action in the CFL. How is it different than what you've experienced in the American game? First and foremost, let's talk about the X's and O's. It's a very different field and a very different format.
Yeah, it's different, adjusting to 12 people and wagglers. But once you really buy in and learn like formations, you pick up on it quick. Football is football at the end of the day. So it was a slight change, but I adjusted good. So it's not hard.
Tell me about that waggle. What that process is like when you see a guy coming down full speed on you.
Oh man, I can't say my first time seeing it. I'm like, whoa, what is this? But yeah, you just gotta trust yourself, trust your speed, and trust your technique and your leverage. And yeah, it easy, honestly.
Your teammates will say you also have to trust your eyes.
Always.
Did that happen?
You gotta always trust your eyes. You trust yourself and your eyes. You see it, believe it. Because if you second guess it, you're not gonna make the play. So always believe in whatever you see and trust your instincts.
You obviously earned yourself a roster spot this weekend in Edmonton. What was it like getting the, hey, you're going in this week, and then getting the tap on the shoulder, hey, we need you in that secondary now too?
Oh man, it felt great once they told me that I was dressing, because Lord knows I've been weighing my chance and just grinding every day, trying to stack my great days. So when they told me that I was dressing and told me that I was going to come and get into the game, I was ready, and knowing I was going to go out there and make some plays.
How important has patience been in your professional journey?
Very, because without patience, it'll have your mind going everywhere. So you got to have patience, because that mixes in with your faith. So, yeah, you got to have patience.
What would it mean to play a game in this stadium on Friday night against Ottawa?
Oh, man. It'll be my first time dressing in Regina for a home game, so it would mean a lot to come in here and play for the crowd, the greatest fans in the CFL.
So obviously you have to put all that emotion behind you and prepare for a team that is pretty desperate. What have you seen from them, and what do you have to go ahead and prepare for this week?
I know they're desperate, but just going into it every week, just like any other team. Even though they don't have a winning record, you attack them the same as you attack how we attack Edmonton. Everybody get it. Anyone, it really doesn't matter.
Well, congratulations on CFL game number 1. Here's to many, many more. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
And that is our very own Dave Thomas chatting with James Burgess Jr., who could be very heavily leaned upon in this game on Friday against the Ottawa Redblacks if Tavon Campbell cannot go. Now we're going to do the sprinkle of the day for Sports Select. Getting in on more of the sports action you want is as easy as playing at sportsselect.com. Simply make your picks online, generate your QR code, and lock in your bet at your local lotto spot retailer. Every bet is 100% legal with the chance of winning cash in hand. Sports Select, when you're ready to play, bet on the original, must be 18 plus to play. Play responsibly, and the money stays in Saskatchewan. We were going to do a couple of CFL picks here for you, and Colson has one. I have one. Maybe I'll throw mine out there first. The Roughriders are 8.5-point favorites in this game against Ottawa, and that seems like a pretty big line. As tempted as I am to take Ottawa, I just can't. So I'm going to pick Saskatchewan to cover. I think that if they're going to win by 2 possessions, this would be the night to do it, and if they do, they will cover that 8.5-point spread. Colson, what do you got?
Well, I was pulling it up to look at the Rider game, but first we've got the Stamps and Argos. And Sports Select has them at a 67.5 over-under. Now, they've been getting better at the over-unders because they used to be in the low 50s. But I don't think I've seen a 67.5 yet. Now, Calgary has to score like 40 points to win the game, right?
If you're going to have an over-under like that, for sure.
Well, Calgary is, 3-4, and every game that they've won, they've had to score 40 points because their defense can't stop anything. So I understand why the line is that high, but it still just feels so high. So I'm leaning under on that one. I don't know. I could be totally out to left field, though.
Well, I mean, it's gambling, right? None of us really know. So I think that'll be an interesting pick. I'll be curious to see how that pans out. I'm probably okay with the over-under. Some of the other ones, I know Montreal is favored by 3.5 points to beat Edmonton. I feel like that spread is not enough.
Yeah, honestly, I'd take Edmonton in that game because
you think Edmonton can win that game or keep it close, like close enough to not let Montreal cover a 3.5-point spread?
I definitely think they could keep it close. I mean, they beat us and then we beat them, both 2-point games. So Edmonton could definitely keep it close. I think Edmonton could win that game, though, even though it's in Montreal, just because Edmonton's coming off this tough loss. They were undisciplined, so their coach has probably been in their ear this whole week. So,
and they knew that they let that game slip away.
Exactly.
Like they said after the game, we screwed up. We'll do better next time.
Yeah, well, now it's next time.
And as good as the Roughriders were on the road, though, playing Saskatchewan at home is one thing with Rider fans there. I think it's tougher to go into Montreal. But that's just me. We'll have to agree to disagree on that game. I think Montreal's going to roll them, but you never know. Hey, Davis Alexander has one regular season loss as a starter, and it was to Cody Fajardo and the Edmonton Elks. And every time I write Edmonton off, they step up and surprise me yet again. So maybe I'll learn my lesson eventually and start taking them, but I'm not going to do it this week when they go into Montreal with having to face a healthy Davis Alexander.
Yeah, that's the big thing, though, those hamstrings on Davis Alexander.
That is your sprinkle of the day for Sports Select. Getting in on more of the sports action you want is as easy as playing at sportselect.com. Simply make your picks online, generate your QR code, and lock in your bet at your local Lotto Spot retailer. Every bet is 100% legal with the chance of winning cash in hand. Sports Select. When you're ready to play, bet on the original. Must be 18 plus to play. Play responsibly. Time to break. Coming up in hour 2, we will check in with the head coach of the University of Regina Rams, Mark McConkey. You're listening to the Sportscage on 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Winter in Saskatchewan tests everything, our patience, vehicles, and sometimes our bumpers. From icy parking lot dings to serious highway mishaps, choosing local matters. At Regina Motor Products Collision Center, we're Saskatchewan owned, run, and we drive these roads too. An SGI accredited full-service collision center working on all makes and models. Submit your SGI claim and book your appraisal. It's easy. When you need repairs you can trust, it's neighbors helping neighbors. Regina Motor Products Collision Center, south at Highways 1 and 6 Albert Street, rmpchevrolet.com.
Why test for asbestos? Because before 1990, asbestos was commonly used in more than 3,000 building materials and other products. Because when asbestos fibers become airborne, they get into the lungs and cause severe damage over time. Because asbestos exposure is the #1 cause of work-related deaths in Saskatchewan. Built before 1990? Test for asbestos. Start at worksafesask.ca.
The Roughriders season is here and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
Is it time to refresh your cottage this summer? It's easy with lakeside deliveries from Freeze Tallman. Whether you're rebuilding the deck, fixing the dock, or taking on a full cabin project, Freeze Tallman delivers the building materials you need right to the lake. With reliable service and delivery you can count on, you'll spend less time running around and more time enjoying the weekend. Start your summer project at freezetallman.com. Freeze Tallman. Locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit sastel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
It's time for the Sports Ticker. Brought to you by Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals. Rent a water heater and water softener starting at about $1.20 a day and get $400 when you switch to Reliance Heath.
Well, that Blue Jay trade with the Chicago Cubs already working out. Jamison Talon, who started today, pulled out the 4-3 victory over the Cubs, and that's his first win as a Toronto Blue Jay starter. And that's not over the Cubs. He came from the Cubs over the Houston Astros. There we go.
5-4, not fourth.
5-4 was the final, and they are 2 for 2 so far in their series with the Houston Astros, so that's kind of exciting. Other stuff happening baseball-wise, Moose Jaw Miller Express visit the Saskatoon Berries tonight, and the Weyburn Beavers are here to play the Regina Red Sox. And that will be a doubleheader that gets going at 6:05. Medicine Hat Mavericks are in Swift Current. 2026 Holinka Gretzky Cup preliminary round. There's more happening today. Canada is playing Sweden. They'll be on the ice in about an hour's time. Maddox Schultz and Liam Pugh. Sportscage.com poll. Do you think that Vancouver will get a Major League Baseball franchise? Vote at sportscage.com.
This is 620 CKRM Regina, the voice of Saskatchewan, a Harvard media station, streaming everywhere at 620CKRM.com.
News is brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. Call 781-2090.
It's 4 p.m. Good afternoon. Mostly cloudy and 24 degrees in Regina. I'm Will Manzik from the SAS Today newsroom with 620 CKRM News. Regina police have revealed their numbers from the Queen City X. Police say 60 missing children were returned safely to their families or caregivers. That's an average of 12 kids a day. Officers say there were 3 different assaults. One included bear spray, another one a peace officer. There were 11 consensual altercations that resulted in no charges. 9 people were arrested for intoxication. 7 other people required medical attention. And lastly, there were 2 thefts. RPS adds that these stats only reflect the incidents that involved their officers. Moose Jaw's 2 dog parks have reopened after testing found no evidence linking the parks to the death or illnesses of several dogs. The parks on High Street West were closed June 26 as a precaution while the city investigated. Officials say water samples met Canadian drinking water standards, and toxicology testing found no toxins connected to the parks. The city says visitors should keep personal water bowls and bottles with them and remove them when leaving to help reduce contamination risks. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada supports the International Criminal Court as Washington vows to dismantle the institution. But the Prime Minister did not explain today why his government has offered no public criticism of U.S. President Donald Trump's sanctioning of Winnipeg-born ICC judge Kimberly Prost.
We'll provide support as needed, and we work with our American colleagues on a variety of issues to work to achieve results. But our support for the ICC is unequivocal.
The judge is asking a New York court to reverse the sanctions that left her unable to use her credit cards. Mallard Diversified Services has been fined after pleading guilty to a workplace safety violation linked to a worker injury in Wadena. In Wynyard Provincial Court on July 22nd, the company admitted failing to ensure a portable ladder was secured against accidental movement during use. The incident happened in May 2024 when a worker fell onto a concrete floor while replacing overhead door springs. The company now must pay $8,000. And over 29,000 pounds of BC vegetables have been received at the Regina Food Bank. The vegetables came from the Greater Vancouver Food Bank. In return, the Regina Food Bank sent back 22 pallets of lentils, rolled oats, soup mix, and pasta. The Regina Food Bank says this exchange demonstrates a simple but important point. Canada produces food in abundance, but it's not always available where communities need it. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sastoday.ca and 620CKRM.com.
When summer heat hits, there's nothing worse than an air conditioner that can't keep up. Stay cool, comfortable, and ready for those hot Saskatchewan days with a new Bryant air conditioner from Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Bryant systems are built for reliable performance, energy efficiency, and lasting comfort, so you can keep your home cool all summer long. Call Bronco Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today for more information or visit broncoplumbing.com. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Weather for next-gen coatings, spray coatings for truck bed liners, rocker panels, and more. Same company, new name, 1865 McCarra Street, Regina.
For your precision weather for this afternoon, partly sunny mixed with isolated showers and thunderstorms, a high of 24 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, light winds out of the southwest, an overnight low of 12. For Thursday, partly sunny, up to 24 degrees. Winds could pick up out of the northwest up to as high as 55 kilometers an hour. Thursday, supposed to be a little bit cooler, all the way down to 7 on Thursday evening with some light winds out of the north-northwest. Friday, partly to mostly sunny, a high of 23 and some light winds out of the northwest. Saturday, partly sunny, high of 23, and for Sunday, spotty showers and thunderstorms, a high of 22. Right now in downtown Regina, it's mostly cloudy and 23 degrees.
For over 40 years, you've known them as Regina's trusted vehicle protection specialists. Now they're introducing the next gen of coatings. New name, new level of protection. They're now Next Gen Coatings. 3 generations of their family have served your family, and that hasn't changed. Same owners, same commitment, ready for the next gen of truck beds, rocker panels, trailers, bumpers, and running boards. The company hasn't changed, just the name. Next Gen Coatings. 1865 McCarra Street. The next gen starts now.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products. RMP summer offer on now until August 31st. Receive a $25 SO gift card with purchase of a vehicle health check and oil change package. Visit RMP today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz with you on this Wednesday Sports Cage. Lots more football talk still to come. We will go to Ottawa and hear from AJ Jakubec, the radio broadcaster, the Ottawa Redblacks. The team that he follows just might make history this season if they keep on losing the way they have been, and the midweek sound-off with Scott Schultz. But right now, we're going to trot out onto the Western Pizza Hotline. Very happy to be joined by the head coach of the University of Regina Rams, Mark McConkey. Mark, summer's been good. Did you go to the X?
No, I did not make it there. But yeah, summer's been great. We had a lot of kids camps. We just finished up our high school camp last week, and now we're all focused in on our training camp starting on the August 15th here.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to catch you because you're going to be tough to get a hold of, I think, in the next couple of weeks. We had our first junior football report of the season. It's starting to feel a little bit more like fall. I've been getting lots of questions about what are the Rams looking like this year, and, you know, I'm always telling them that, well, I think their offense could be really explosive. Well, when I try to explain the quarterback situation, we talk a lot on this program that the Roughriders have 2 quarterbacks who are very similar as far as how they play. I'm not saying that the backup is as good as the starter, but very much get the ball out, distribute it very, very quickly. I feel like the Rams quarterback situation is very different, where you have one quarterback who is very much that way, Noah Pelche, and your other quarterback, Owen Sieben, who is more like a symphony orchestra conductor. He likes to make things happen, extend plays, and it's like poetry in motion when it works. Is that a fair observation, the difference between the Riders' quarterback situation and your quarterback situation with the Rams?
Yeah, I think it's fair. At the end of the day, both guys have been here for quite a number of years now. Noah Pelche is going into his last year. Owen's got 2 left, so they're coming up on the tail end of their career, and they're both playing really good football right now. And again, we'll kind of see how camp shakes out and who's going to take the starting role. But the way Owen finished the season last year, day one, he's our starter, and it's kind of his job to lose. And if he can stay healthy and keep growing the way he's been growing over the last 4 years, I think he's going to win us a few football games this year.
Do you think that you maybe have the best quarterback room in Canada West? I mean, there aren't too many teams who have 2 capable quarterbacks like you do. And there's that saying, to have 2 quarterbacks is to have no quarterback. But we've learned that one quarterback often isn't enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, nowadays, there's guys that are hurt all the time, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, I think we've got a great quarterback room top to bottom. And the guy that doesn't really get talked about much, but he will be a household name in a few years here, is Connor Kerr. Third string guy. He's been here for a few years. He's he's close to Noah and Owen, and I'm excited to see how he comes back into camp this year. And again, hopefully he doesn't have to play. Hopefully those guys can stay healthy. But if he has to go in, I know we're going to win a lot of games. So we do have we've got three older guys that we know are ready to play right now, and some other guys that are still developing. But again, we feel really good in that spot heading into the year.
Try to get a status update on some of your key players for this coming season. Renzo Aranauza had a really unfortunate injury in the last regular season game against UBC. He's coming back. He's good to go. What's the situation with him?
Yeah, no, he's fully cleared. He's been running around like crazy all summer here, and he'll be ready to go come fall camp, so in a couple weeks here.
What about Marshall Erickson? I heard from one of his teammates that he had been out sprinting a while back. Is he back to 100%?
Not quite 100%, but he's close. He's got a few more doctor appointments to get fully cleared, but come season, he'll be ready to go, and I know he's excited to get at it. And again, we're going to try to be smart with him, slowly work him in. We don't need him every week for 30 carries, and I already talked to him about that. I said, you're probably not breaking no rushing records this year, but that's okay. We need you when it matters the most at the end of the season, and he seems okay with that. So we'll see. And again, we ultimately, it's at the mercy of the doctor. So whenever the surgeon and doctor say he's good to go, then we'll slowly ramp him up into game mode.
Exciting passing attack you have that you'll probably try to rely on more by the sounds of it. What about Connor Klassen? Is he going to play for your football team this year on the O-line, and where's he going to fit in?
Yeah, no, he's coming back. He was last year, was supposed to be his last year, but obviously tore his ACL in Lions camp. Went back to Lions camp again this year, had a good experience, but got sent back. So he's coming back. He's definitely done school. He's just coming back for the love of the game for one more semester. And again, he's a guy that's pretty versatile. He can play both tackle spots, both guard spots. So we're doing our depth chart today for camp, and it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. He could play tackle. We could end up moving him into guard. Ultimately, it's up to Coach Rowe and Brett Jones to make the combination of the best five guys we have. So I'm really excited to see how that shapes up by the end of August here.
Riley Schick gone, and he was your center for a long time. Could Connor fit that role, or do you have somebody else lined up for that?
Yeah, he could. He's like a bit of an emergency guy, but we got Will Templeton, who was our starting guard last year, who can slide over, and he's really consistent with his snaps. He's bright as well. He can make all the line calls. So we're definitely going to miss Riley's leadership and his IQ out there, but we know Will Templeton's going to do a great job this year for us.
We see Jeff Stusek, your old special teams coach, getting a lot of glory and camera time on the sidelines with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Who's going to run special teams this year?
First of all, Stus always knows where to stand, right beside Corey Mays, a little bit behind him. He's just trying to get TV time. So, no, I love Jeff and pumped for him that he took that job offer. But this year for special teams, it's going to be Bruce Anderson. He's been here since COVID, really. He's been working with Jeff for 6 years now, so he's ready to take over, and he's already changed a few things, which we're really excited about. So we're excited to see how he does this year in his first year coordinating.
Mace just loves Bruce. I know they have a connection from Metro Vancouver, wherever that is. Jaden Marwick started last year as your offensive coordinator. I know you kept calling the plays, and you were telling me that at some point you might transition more of that over to him. Has that changed at all since last season?
Very similar. Yeah, we're obviously working very, very close together. I believe the plan is, where I'm at right now, is I'm going to call the plays again for this year and then kind of reevaluate where we're at. And who knows, maybe I have a couple bad games and I'm crappy at it, then I just turn it over to him. So everything's always up in the air, always evaluating. But as of right now, it's going to be me calling the plays for this season.
This will be my third year broadcasting the games on 620 CKRM. We're very excited about that. And what I've noticed is how at the very beginning, the identity of this team was very much on its defense. And I'm talking about the 24 season and a little less so in 25. And I wonder if this is the year where you really complete the cycle with your offense. I mean, you got your quarterback cranked up. The kind of where I think you wanted them at the end of last season. If everybody can stay healthy, is this a time for your football club to strike while the iron is hot? And what I mean by that is it's not often you have so many moving parts that are fitting the way they should this season. Like, is this a key year where you've really got to convert?
Yeah, I mean, I thought last year was kind of a good year to do it as well. We finished 6-2. We're in the Hardy Cup, so that's the end goal. We just got to get into playoffs and get hot at the right time, like we showed in 2024. It's a tough conference, so. But I feel really confident where we're at as a team, as a program. We got a lot of good players coming back for another 2 years or 3. So yeah, I think we should be right at the top. But again, it's Can West. You've broadcasted long enough. You just never know in these games and in this conference. So at the end of the day, we just got to start one foot in front of the other August 14th and then just build and become the best team we can be.
We know that the Huskies are going to be tough. They're always tough. Is there another team in Canada West that as we sit here just whatever it is, 10 days before training camp, you think those guys are going to be really good, we're going to have a tough time with them, other than the Huskies?
Yeah, like the Huskies are always great. It'll be interesting. I think UBC is going to take a big jump forward this year. I know they snuck in the playoffs. We kind of helped them into that with our last game of the year. But they were young. They're athletic. They got good players. So if they can put it together, they could be a pretty scary team for sure.
Do you feel like the I don't want to call it scar tissue, but they say you have to get a little bit of scar tissue if you're going to succeed in the playoffs and scrape your knees a little bit. There was that heartbreaking loss in the Hardy Cup last year, and you came really close against beating Laval the year before that. Do you feel like this team has a little more scar tissue, baggage, whatever you want to call it, under their belts that is needed if you're going to take that next step? Because not very often do you see a program go from trying to get into the playoffs to competing for a national championship.
Yeah, absolutely. 2024 was a great postseason for us. Again, ultimately we fell short to Laval, but we hadn't won a playoff game since 2012 prior to that. So even going through that experience, going on the road, winning 2 tough games in Manitoba and then beating the Huskies in the Hardy Cup, like that was just a great experience for us. And then even last year, hosting a home playoff game and winning a home playoff game in double overtime and then going up and losing a heartbreaker to U of S again, like those are all just great experiences for our players and coaches and as a program that's where we expect to be every year. And again, it's hard to go from not making playoffs to winning a Vanier. It's hard to do in this league. And you look at the teams that have won it over the last 13 years, like Laval, Montreal, Western, Queens, they've been there before and they've been there many times. So we just got to keep knocking on the door, trusting our process, continuing to get better as a program. And again, I think we'll be able to punch through one of these years.
You know, last year before that semifinal playoff game against Manitoba, and I saw that Game 7 of the World Series involving the Blue Jays was going to overlap with your game, and I was like, no, hoping the Blue Jays would finish it on the Friday night, and of course they didn't. But it's funny, it kind of went from a negative to being a positive because we came out to the park, and I give the Manitoba fans a lot of credit. They made so much noise, and it was a really cool atmosphere, and going home like, wow, what a game. Then when the Blue Jays lost, but people were saying, but that was such a good Rams game. You know, it kind of gave people something to fall back on. So I thought that was pretty cool. Before I let you go, I've been getting some people asking me about this new quarterback that Alberta has signed. What's his name? Christian Veilleux? I know just about nothing about him. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's a good football player. He's a Canadian kid from Ontario. Went down to a handful of Division I schools with the portal down there. That's just kind of the way of the world down there. So he's been to a few schools. We've got some film on him. We're evaluating him. And again, it's just our luck. We play him week 1, so we won't really know until 6:30 p.m. on September 4th. But again, I think he's a good quarterback. We've gone against other high-level Div 1 quarterbacks that have transferred to UBC, and last year the guy in Calgary. So I know Coach Gray is going to put a great plan in place. Our guys are just going to focus on us and just do our job really well. And I know we'll be come out on top for that game for sure. We just got to focus on us and put our best foot forward, and we should be okay.
I know there had been some chatter that maybe a transfer portal like that would come here, and I know that they have revised the rules a little bit up here, but do you feel like the disastrous results that they've had, and there's been a lot of complaining down south, has put that discussion to bed for what to do up here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I know in the States it's tough right now because everyone always sees the big name guys in the portal, but what you don't see is those middle tier players who are good players. They leave a program and then they end up nowhere. And then now they're out of school. They're not getting an education. They lost their scholarship. Like, those are just sad stories. And again, I think the means of the portal had good intentions, but now it's almost backfiring a little bit. But again, the one up here is more related to school. You got to be in your first 2 years of school, so you can still transfer and get credit hours applied. So it's a little bit different. I don't know if U Sports will ever get to that spot. I hope we don't. But I do like the 2-year thing where if you go to a program in your first year, you're like, they lied to me or I was way wrong. I do not like this. This isn't a good fit. I think those players should be able to transfer out for sure. But guys transferring in their last year just to go win a championship at LSU, that's maybe a bit of a different story.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like college football anymore down there, and that's what I like about Canada West, and it feels like more just about the football. The Rams will open their regular season on the first Friday night in Edmonton against Alberta. I can't wait. Coach Mark McConkey, thank you for this, and we'll talk to you lots over the next few months, I'm sure.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
Okay, that is the head coach of the University of Regina Rams, who's going to have a very busy last half of August. I'm sure he's pretty busy already lining things up, players, coaches, making arrangements for the coming season. They'll have a preseason game in Medicine Hat before the Bullets get flying for real on that Friday night, September the 4th in Edmonton, a game that we will have broadcast live here on 620 CKRM. Time to break, still ahead on this edition of the Sports Cage. We will do the midweek sound off with Scott Schultz, brought to you by Lakeview Insurance and Revive Men's Health Clinic. You are listening to 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Listen weekdays at noon for Saskatchewan Today on CKRM with your host, Ryan Young, offering the most extensive agricultural news coverage with precision weather meteorologists in an industry that moves fast. Stay updated with the latest, most reliable information in ag news, crisis and trends, all in one place. Available anytime at SaskAgToday.com. Saskatchewan Today, your trusted source for all things agriculture. Sponsored by Affinity Credit Union on 620 CKRM.
What's going on in the markets? When is the right time to invest? What should you do with your money today? When Linda had questions, she talked to Brian Golly.
He's always well prepared and has answers for us. We take it as gospel, and he's led us down the right path so far.
You don't have to plan your financial future alone. Call Brian Golly of Smart Investing Solutions. 306-546-2533.
We would recommend Brian anytime, and we would recommend him to anybody.
Get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Pizza is like spending quality time with your significant other. When it's hot, it's awesome. When it's cold, it's awesome. And it's even better when it's Western Pizza. Unlike fast food, you can warm the leftovers up at work the next day and not stink out the lunchroom, like Dolores and her fish. Or go for a walk at lunch and eat it cold. The world is your oyster. But this time, your oyster is delicious Western Pizza.
And get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
Getting insurance is one thing, but making sure you're actually covered the way you think you are is another. At Lakeview Insurance, Scott Schultz and his team help you get a second opinion on your coverage so you know what you're protecting. It's about protecting what you've built. Talk to Lakeview Insurance today.
The Sports Cage Clutch Performer for Keln Solar. Thinking about saving money by using solar power? Keln Solar is a local family company that can put solar panels on your home, business, or farm. KelnSolar.com.
Well. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Houston Astros today in a 5-4 victory. Second straight win over Houston. Break up the Blue Jays, rolling since the deadline. I was going to give this Sports Cage Clutch Performer to the pitcher Jamison Talon, who allowed 6 hits and 3 runs in 4 innings in his debut for Toronto, but I didn't see the game, and the more I read about it and think about it, it doesn't really sound all that spectacular. He did his job. So instead, I'm going to give it to Ernie Clement, who hit the 2-run bomb in the 10th inning to pick up the victory over Houston. You have to feel really good when you win back-to-back games like that in Houston, and who knows, maybe that will spark them on some kind of a run. Did you have a performer too?
Yeah, I was going to give mine to Caden Stroder. Had 2 goals for Canada in their win over Slovakia. It was a 6-1 final. Maddox, Schultz, and Liam Pugh picked up 2 points apiece as well. I think Liam had another goal in that. So, yeah, boys are doing good. It's just a couple preliminary games. They're actually in the first period right now against Sweden. Don't have any scores yet there, but
these guys just never get enough hockey. And you know what, this time of year, some people say they don't want to think about hockey in the summer. I do think that the NHL season's too long, but I actually kind of enjoy it a little bit because we've had a bit of a break for the last few months. And training camp is not that far away either for the Regina Pats.
Yeah.
The Sportscage Clutch Performer for Kelton Solar. Book now your solar quotes for your home, farm, or cabin. Save money with the local company Kelton Solar in Lumsden. Still ahead on this edition of the program, we will check in with AJ Jakubec, the radio broadcaster for the Ottawa Redblacks, and also the 96ers. Scott Schultz with the midweek sound off that he does on this station. And I remember covering the Riders when Scott played for 2 seasons, and right before that, 2003, the Hamilton Ticats went 1-17, and their one victory was over Scott Schultz and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So I'm sure he'll appreciate me bringing up that memory.
Absolutely.
And I think it should be okay to talk about, because it's not like the Riders were bad that year. They were 11-7. They went to the playoffs. They won a playoff game in Winnipeg. So clearly they were a far superior team. But on any given Sunday or Saturday, or in that case, I think it was a Friday, the Riders came up just a little short. And I wonder if there are any parallels to that situation to what today's Roughriders might be thinking or facing with that game coming in on Friday. It'll also be on Friday Night Football against Ottawa. But I remember watching that game, and there were a lot of silly blooper plays that happened. First of all, I'm glad the Riders lost that game, because I think it would have broke my heart and a few others if Ron Lancaster had to be the first coach in football history to suffer through an 0-18 season. So I'm grateful that he did not have to go through that humiliation. But I remember when the game ended, the Riders lost, and they went back to Sports Desk, or maybe they were starting to call it Sports Center by that point, and Darren Detition was at the desk, and he's laughing, and he says, "That might be the stupidest football game I've ever seen in my life." And he just couldn't stop laughing, trying to get through the highlights. When I think of Darren Detition, God rest his soul, that's probably my favorite memory.
That was a rough season for Hamilton, because, they won the one game there. 27-24 in overtime in a thriller. It was actually a Saturday, but they also had the infamous Week 19 bye in the final week of the season, so their season was over a week before everyone else.
Oh, but that's okay, because then, that was probably the one good thing about the season. Everybody could just pack up and leave.
Not wrong.
A little bit early.
Especially with the way things went that year. Yeah, maybe. Fair enough.
But you know what? That's a cautionary tale for someone like Ryan Dinwiddie, because we were just talking about this with Curtis off air. Sometimes if a coach has success, what do we call him? What were the words we were throwing around? He is a championship caliber coach. He's a championship quality coach. No head coach wins a championship all by himself. But a lot of them start to believe all the hype, right? When teams are offering them more money and better opportunities. And I don't even blame the coaches themselves for falling into it. But remember, the first 2 years that Lancaster was a head coach in Saskatchewan, the record was 4-28. And looking back on it, he probably wasn't ready. And the roster definitely wasn't ready. He might have been ready for it, but you had a lot of good ingredients. They just weren't ready for prime time. So he did the 10 years in the booth, and then he was head coach in Edmonton for 7 years. He did a really good job there. They were already a pretty good football team, let's be honest, but he didn't screw it up. He did a nice job there. And then when he went over to Hamilton, they did well. They got to the Grey Cup. It was a huge turnaround his first year there. The next year they win the Grey Cup, and they were still good for, I think, 2 more years. So he's kind of top of the world, and then 2 years later, they're going 1-17. So that fame can be fleeting awfully quickly, and those moments can be fleeting. And Ryan Dinwiddie missed the playoffs last year. So if things continue to go downhill in Ottawa the way they have this year, his stock could crumble in a real hurry as well. We shall see how it all pans out. We're going to step aside and take a break. We're going to hear more from Rider practice today when we come back. You are listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Winter in Saskatchewan tests everything, our patience, vehicles, and sometimes our bumpers. From icy parking lot dings to serious highway mishaps, choosing local matters. At Regina Motor Products Collision Center, we're Saskatchewan owned, run, and we drive these roads too. An SGI accredited full-service collision center working on all makes and models. Submit your SGI claim and book your appraisal. It's easy. When you need repairs you can trust, it's neighbors helping neighbors. Regina Motor Products Collision Center, south at Highways 1 and 6 Albert Street, rmpchevrolet.com.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
Western Pizza is more than just pizza, and we don't mean ribs and pasta. But for the record, you can get that there too. No, Western Pizza is the perfect partner for every occasion. From late nights polishing papers to parties full of people passing it around while conversation peaks. It's premium leftovers. It's what you pick up for a picnic on a pristine summer day. And of course, it always pleases the palate. Dine in or take out today.
And get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Hello, Clarice.
It's Brittany.
Have the lambs stopped screaming?
Those aren't lambs, that's my garage door. I don't know why it's making that sound.
I hope you called Busy Bee Doors. They can fix or replace any commercial or garage door.
I did, and?
Brittany? Paul from Busy Bee. What's with the old guy on the dolly?
Ugh, ignore him.
I do wish we could chat longer, but...
Busy Bee Doors, the garage door specialists.
Why test for asbestos? Because before 1990, asbestos was commonly used in more than 3,000 building materials and other products. Because when asbestos fibers become airborne, they get into the lungs and cause severe damage over time. Because asbestos exposure is the #1 cause of work-related deaths in Saskatchewan. Built before 1990? Test for asbestos. Start at worksafesask.ca.
Welcome back to Sportscage. Check out our podcast powered by Freeze Tolman. Available anytime, anywhere at 620ckrm.com and sportscage.com.
Brennan McGuire and Colson Schultz with you on this Wednesday Sportscage. Just want to remind everybody to play Pick the Score. Listeners get 3 chances to text in every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on 620 CKRM, mornings, middays, and the Sportscage. Pick the score of the next Rider game. That's the Friday game coming up against Ottawa. The closest guess to the actual score each week will win a $200 SaskTel gift card. Just for playing, you automatically win 2 tickets to the next Saskatchewan Roughrider home game. Make sure you text in at 306-936-6262. Pick the score, the winner, and leave your name, for crying out loud, so we know who to issue the tickets to when we sift through and find our winners. Okay. Earlier today, there was some discussion down at Mosaic Stadium about how the offensive line is working with Quali Conley, the running back, because, of course, the Rider record with A.J. Ouellette in the lineup is much, much better than it is with him out of the lineup, largely because of his ability to block and do other things. So how's it all working with number 24, Quali Conley? Can he do things other than just reverse hurdles? And Dave Thomas was asking Rider O-lineman Jacob Bramer about that this afternoon.
Jacob Bramer, first and foremost, it seems weird not having Jamarcus Hardwick or Logan Furland around you. You go everywhere with those two, but the chemistry seems to be outstanding. Can you explain how it's developed year over year?
I feel like we've just tried to get better and better. I mean, we hang out a lot outside of football, so that plays a lot into our relationship and how we play on the field. We know how each other wants to, or how we want to block certain things, communicate like that, and we just have a really a good trust with one another.
You're definitely not a newbie. Can you explain your progression over the last couple of years and how you've settled now on the right side of this offensive line?
Really just hard work and coming in every day with our coaching staff, off season, being up here, being around the coaching staff, and then just talking with the guys and everything, creating a good game plan for each and every week.
Talking with AJ Ouellette, he often comments about the foundation that the offensive line has laid, and now you continue to build and stack on that. How is the growth measured?
It's been awesome. Like, I know my first year here, I lived in the dorms, and we'd all kind of get together as rookies. And that I moved out of the dorms, kind of moved in with Furlan for a little bit, and then that kind of grew into everyone coming over there. And now it's just carried on. Like, each and every group that comes in, we all just gather up and really make sure we have that brotherhood outside of football.
You've had a constant in Trevor Harris behind you. Now Quali Conley is behind you and not AJ Ouellette. How does that make your job any different, if at all?
Not that much different. I mean, AJ does a good job with them as well, just kind of getting them up to speed on the things that he would do whenever he was playing and things like that. And we just have full faith in everyone, all right? Our coaching staff's done a great job with just the next man up mentality.
Desperate can make you do funny things, and some would suggest that Ottawa is desperate coming in here. Does that change your approach at all, or maybe different things they may throw at you with a new defensive coordinator?
We know their record just doesn't replicate like who they are as a team. We know they have guys at every level, their front seven, the back end, offensively and everything. So they have guys that they can go win games. So we're not taking them lightly at all. We know they're a good team. Some things just haven't gone their way this season.
Second opportunity, you get to play some of your former teammates. Do either of you have an advantage in that, knowing each other as well as you do?
I don't necessarily think it's an advantage. Like we know some of the guys that played over there, but again, likewise, they know exactly from practice and stuff like that how we play. So just a chess game at the end of the day.
That is Jacob Bramer, the guard for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, one of the few American guards that they've been using, and that has become more and more of I don't want to call it an American position, but teams were avoiding that for a very long time, using Americans at a guard position. We've seen more and more American offensive linemen in the CFL. When I was a young fan, you had to have 10 out of your 24 starters had to be Canadian. So up until we got those American teams, you rarely ever saw an American offensive lineman in the league at all. And then they tweaked the ratio, and you started to immediately see teams use one, sometimes two American tackles. And I think the product of that was that was a product of the very first Grey Cup that was ever played in Regina. The Baltimore Stallions came along, and they were so good. That was maybe the best offensive line, or one of the best offensive lines in CFL history. And that opened the eyes to a lot of teams about how having an American O-line or some American O-lineman could really help you. And the Riders had all kinds of trouble on their offensive line at the end of the Cody Fajardo years, particularly the 22 season. And they kept using Americans at tackle, and a lot of people blamed it on the inadequacy of the tackle position. That's a big reason why they brought Jamarcus Hardrick over from Winnipeg. But looking back on it, I often wonder if maybe it would have been easier if they had had an American guard as well, because then the tackles wouldn't have had to do so much, et cetera, et cetera. And so now the Riders seem comfy using 3 American O-linemen. And as we saw in last year's playoffs, the Western Final and the Grey Cup, they were quite happy to use 4 American offensive linemen. Now, I don't think they want to do that this year. It limits their flexibility elsewhere, especially with some of their key Canadian starters dinged up on the receiving corps and in their secondary with Tavon Campbell. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes, and if the Riders see a use for using even a 4th American O-lineman between now and the end of the season. I'm sure that's more of a last resort, but it worked out so well for them in the playoffs in the Grey Cup a year ago. I wouldn't be shocked to see Saskatchewan go back to the well, but you have to give Jacob Bramer a lot of credit, because once he became a starter and started being used more and more on that offensive line, he's clearly been a difference maker at that guard spot. Speaking of Canadians, Americans, globals, the Riders' kicking game has been a topic of a lot of discussion this year as well. As we know, Alex Hale has not had the greatest start. He is 12 for 17 on the season. For those of you keeping score, Brett Lowther was 11 for 17 at this point a year ago. And although Brett's having a much better year in Ottawa, he's also on the 6-game injured list right now. Dave Thomas caught up with the long snapper in those field goal situations, Mike Benson.
Mike Benson, it's been a minute seemingly since you've arrived in Riderville. So far, so good, right?
So far, so good. I'm enjoying my time here for sure. Absolutely.
Tell me about this team and what you've seen through the first now 7 games of the season.
I'll just start back from like week one. When I got here, it felt everyone's been so welcoming here. Everyone's such a tight-knit group. It felt like I've been here for training camp and all last year even. Just the camaraderie between everybody, how close everybody is, how everyone wants to work together for the same thing, right? Solve all the problems and keep moving forward and just unite, be together as a team. It's kind of special, honestly.
You talk about working together. Obviously, you, Oscar, Alex, all have a very unique working relationship. How is that progressing, and how do you look to improve upon it?
Yeah, there's just in our line of work, like the specialist line of work, there's you have to be really nitpicky and borderline OCD on the things that you want to focus on and get better at every week. Right, because if you take a look just from the outsider perspective, it's just like, it's just a snap, a hold, a kick, or a snap and a punt. It's not a big deal, but there's so many little nuances that go on with it. We have to pick tiny little things that we're going to work on to get better every single week. And the last 7 weeks, we're honing in on little things, and we're working on it, and we're getting better. Yeah.
Coach Majuri has talked about the video work that goes into being a specialist, and sometimes fans don't understand or comprehend, but there's a lot of video work. Can you tell me what you're looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of little nuances that go on with special teams, right? A lot of little things that the common eye wouldn't recognize. When we're taking a look at film, we're looking at field goal, we're looking at the speed of the snap, how many rotations, where is Chap catching it, are the laces out, are the laces at 3 o'clock, the degree of the tilt, is he pulling it to his eyes, do we have the right hold, do we have the right lean on the ball? And then in terms of Alex, it's his first jab step and his couple steps after, his follow through. I mean, there's so many little things. It's like a basketball free throw or a golf swing. You really have to break down everything and make sure the timing is perfect and we're gelling together. And again, it's the little things that we have to work on, and that's how you become a pro.
I was once told that a specialist is kind of like a puppy. When you do good, everyone loves it, but when you do bad, nobody forgets about it. Can you tell me how those small little details can affect the outcome and the perception of if it's going well or not?
I mean, just like I said, with any one of those 14 steps that I was just talking about, even in a field goal process, if my timing's off with a snap and I don't get as many rotations or the speed isn't there, then that's the difference of him catching it at 12 o'clock facing the field goal post and the difference of him catching it at 3 o'clock. And what you want is everything needs to be perfect down to the absolute millisecond, because that timing is everything. Obviously for Alex, he wants to be able to see the full back of the ball as long as possible. He doesn't want to have to see even a quarter turn of laces. He wants to focus on one thing, so everything is pivotal.
How can you maintain consistency then? Because that's the mark of a pro, right?
Well, that's why it comes down to taking a look at the little things and those little steps that we can get better, right? It's not just the big picture. It's let's break down every single movement and what do we need to focus on that day to help get the unit better.
Mike, it's an amazingly intricate process. It's going well, I would suggest. Thank you so much for
absolutely.
this.
Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure, guys.
All right, that's our own Dave Thomas with the long snapper, Mike Benson with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He's doing the long snapping. Oscar Chapman, the punter, is doing the holding. And it's Alex Hale doing the field goal kicking. And so far, hasn't gone all that well. Going 12 of 17 on field goal tries, but it is still early. And again, Winnipeg Blue Bomber head coach Michael O'Shea took a lot of heat. I was going to say a couple years ago, I guess 4 years ago now, when he stuck with his kicker who was struggling, Mark Leggio, and he kept standing by him, took all kinds of criticism. And then in the Grey Cup, Mark Leggio missed a very makeable field goal that probably cost not just the Grey Cup that year, but Winnipeg being the first three-peat since the great 5-in-a-row dynasty of the Edmonton Football Club from 1978 to 1982. So it can go both ways, and looking back on that, I almost wonder if Mike O'Shea did all the dirty work sticking with Leggio, and it's another team, the Hamilton Ticats, who are getting the reward because Mark Leggio plays for them now, and he's a pretty consistent kicker. I don't think there's too many people complaining about him, but I find it funny how some kickers do better when they switch rosters. Brett Lowther's having a great year in Ottawa when he's healthy, but he wasn't playing like that here last year, and it's not like they weren't patient with him then either. Colson, you were mentioning a little earlier, Aaron Donald is now on the field. That's not just speculation anymore?
Reportedly, it's still somewhat speculated, I would say.
And he hasn't played since the 24 season, so he didn't play last year. And you see that with pass rushers, some of those big D linemen. Some of them just play the game. They don't want to go to training camp, but it doesn't sound like that. He missed a whole season, and he's coming back.
Well, he missed a whole season, but if you pay attention to his social media, he's been working out this whole time and hasn't slowed down at all, right? So, yeah, it's been reported that he has been on the field. The title that I saw was "Seeing How It Feels Being Back in a Helmet," right? So I think
doesn't mean he's going to play, but you'd have to think if he's doing all these shenanigans,
he is very seriously considering it. Is like the best way you could put it, right? At a certain point, he might just go, you know what? No, I'm still just not feeling it. Ankle doesn't feel right. Blah blah blah. Whatever it is, right? At a certain point, he could just be like that and say, yeah, no, fun in theory. I'm not going to do it. But like we said, he is putting, testing everything out, checking everything out, making sure that, hey, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that I'm ready and not just going to mess around. So, which will be terrifying if he does.
When it's funny because when we talk to a lot of the players who've been in both leagues, the NFL and the CFL, McLeod Bethel Thompson explained this to us at the Grey Cup in Regina a few years ago on the media day, where he said the athletes here are right there with the NFL athletes. The difference is they have a small handful of ballers who you don't see up here. Aaron Donald would be one of them. He kept talking about Aaron Donald. So the fact that he was always on his mind is a guy that you just don't see in the Canadian Football League, and you don't see too many in the NFL all time, shows you what a special talent he is. But he's near the end of his career and taking a little bit of time off by missing the one season. Maybe he has some gas left in the tank, and we see that from time to time with these athletes. And again, maybe he's just doing it at this point of training camp because he's trying to get himself into shape, but doesn't really want to do the full training camp thing like all the other players. Sometimes they like to miss those first couple of weeks.
Yeah, normally if the vet's just coming off a long season, they want to take extra time to rest up. He already had a whole season off. He's as rested as he could probably get. So, yeah, like you said, ramping up, getting ready to see if he actually wants to do it. This isn't the 60s, 70s, and 80s anymore when the CFL and NFL were a lot more on par in terms of the games, right? Because I know that the story goes George Reed was given offers to go down to the NFL, but the pay up here was just as good. So he's like, no, I'll stay here.
Oh, the CFL actively competed for players up until probably the 80s. And even then, since then, there have been rare examples of where they've competed with players. Rocket Ismail might be the most recent one. But even Doug Flutie could have gone to the NFL and he stayed up here. But
exactly, yeah. So there's a few instances of it happening, but it hasn't happened
for a while.
Yeah. And unless we can get a baller like that up here who flies under the radar, it's not likely to happen again, especially with the breadth of scouting these days. Like, it's really hard for somebody to go unnoticed.
Well, I think sometimes I think Davis Alexander would be a really good NFL quarterback, but the thing is, he is perfect for the wide Canadian field. I don't know that he can do what he does if he goes down there. And I mean, I think that some of the athletes fit up here better, but I think to your point, highly unlikely you're going to see a big superstar pass rusher up here fly under the radar. The best example that I can think of would be Cameron Wake.
Yep, that's where I was going.
Where, and he ended up, he was with BC for a couple of years, and he went down to the NFL and had a pretty good run, and a lot of people felt like he was a pretty good find down there. You can chime in on the discussion by calling 1-866-767-0620 or on the Prairie Mobile text line 306-936-6262. Still ahead, we will check in with Scott Schultz, the 96er, on his midweek sound off. You're listening to Sportscage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
Rider Nation lives on 620 CKRM. I'm Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Friday is game day as the Riders take on the Ottawa Redblacks. Countdown to kickoff with Tegan Whitco and Wes Cates is at 4. The pregame show's at 6, and kickoff with Luke Mullender and I is at 7. Saskatchewan Roughrider football on the Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network is brought to you by
Sask Lotteries, Agco Corporation, Bayer Crop Science, Quality Tire, and Sask Energy. Stream every moment of Rider football at sportscage.com.
Erectile dysfunction affects many men, and effective treatment options are available. Revive is helping lead a new approach to men's health, offering confidential, physician-directed assessments and evidence-based treatment options for men experiencing erectile dysfunction. Treatments may include low-intensity shockwave therapy and other regenerative approaches. The goal is to identify possible underlying factors and determine whether non-surgical therapies may help improve sexual health and function. Book your private consultation today. Visit revivemd.com.
Did you know you can get endless streaming and live entertainment anywhere in Canada?
Now wait just a moose a minute.
You can, thanks to Glassers TV, your SaskTel authorized dealer. So cross that border to Flin Flon, Manitoba, and your shows come with you. Why stop there? Head to Vulcan, Alberta, or heck, even St. Louis du Ha-Ha, Quebec, the town with exclamation marks in its name. See Glassers TV, your SaskTel authorized dealer, for details on Max TV Stream, internet, and cellular service.
What's going on in the markets? When is the right time to invest? What should you do with your money today? When Linda had questions, she talked to Brian Golly.
He's always well prepared and has answers for us. We take it as gospel, and he's led us down the right path so far.
You don't have to plan your financial future alone. Call Brian Golly of Smart Investing Solutions. 306-546-2533.
We would recommend Brian anytime, and we would recommend him to anybody.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca. And never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
Have you seen the patio at Pump Jack's Cathedral?
Seen it? I've practically moved in.
Do they at least charge you rent?
Only if I stop ordering food.
I don't blame you. Great food, daily food and drink specials.
30 beers on tap, including local favorites.
And there's no better place to catch the game with friends.
So what are we waiting for?
I'm waiting for this conversation to be over. Let's go.
On the corner of Albert and 13th, Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. Come early, stay late. The place where friends meet.
The world is changing. From the misuse of AI and the rise of deepfakes to the dangerous spread of misinformation, it's getting harder for Canadians to separate fact from fiction. That's why having a trustworthy news source is vital. At Global News, we're committed to objective journalism that cuts through the noise. Stick to the facts. Global News, Canada's trusted news.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Extreme Hockey and Sport, 1425 McIntyre Street, the Cooperator Center, Moose Jaw Temple Garden Center, and online at extremehockey.net.
Well, lots of baseball to talk about. The Toronto Blue Jays getting the 5-4 10th inning victory over the Houston Astros. Ernie Clement with the 2-run blast, and Jamison Talon, one of the players they got from the Chicago Cubs in the Kevin Gausman deal. He went 4 innings and helped get the victory. So the Blue Jays 2-0, winning both games in Houston since the trade deadline. A little closer to home, the Regina Red Sox visit the Moose Jaw Miller Express. And also, I just want to mention as well the Hlinka Gretzky Cup. Not sure why they keep adding names to this tournament, but they are on the ice, and Team Canada playing in that game. As Colson mentioned a little bit earlier, Liam Pugh and Maddox Schultz yesterday combined for 4 points, I think you said it was?
Yep.
And Gord Miller got a lot of attention saying during the one broadcast that overall, the Regina Pats, I was looking for his quote, the Regina Pats bear watching this coming season with all the great talent that they have. And I know a lot of people around here are really excited about what they can do and the possibilities on their roster as well. Overall, the Regina Red Sox winding down their regular season, and they still have just the 2 games left to play. We know where they're going to finish, and it will be in the 3rd position, so they're going to play the Saskatoon Berries in the first round of the playoffs. That's coming up later this week. And I wanted to mention the sports ticker for Extreme Hockey. There will be autographs, team merchandise giveaways, and prizes and draws at Extreme Hockey, who will be hosting PWHL players this coming Saturday, August the 8th, from 2 to 4 p.m. So again, you can swing by there. You can get autographs, team merchandise giveaways, prizes, and draws. Lots happening this weekend at Extreme Hockey and Sport here in Regina. That is your sports ticker. Still ahead on this edition of the program, lots of CFL talk, and we're going to get you ready for the game Friday night against the Ottawa Redblacks. And again, I don't think this is going to be a free spot on the bingo card like some of us had predicted a little bit earlier. Just because the Redblacks come in at 0-7, the Riders are looking a little more dinged up every time we look at that roster. And if they lose a few more pieces before the game, if Tavon Campbell can't go and if Sam Emelis can't go, they're going to be plugging holes left, right, and center. We've got the injury report up on the YouTube channel. And
Tavon Campbell is out, by the way.
Okay, so he's out for sure. Malcolm Bell might be able to play in the secondary, but I wonder what they would do with that 7th Canadian position, because I don't know that Bell is ready to go yet. They have high hopes for him, but playing on the wider field after playing at Michigan State last year, I'm not sure that's such a good proposition for him or the Riders. So I do wonder if we're going to see more Thomas Bertrand-Hudon as the starting running back. There's been all this talk about Quali Conley. I'm sure they'll get Conley in, but you have to have your 7 Canadian starters. So if Bertrand-Hudon is starting, then you can use an American at that defensive back spot. And if you're going to mix in Quali Conley, then it gets confusing. This is a league where it's harder to juggle your starting lineup than any other, probably in any other sport, because of the Canadian player ratio. You've got to have 7 Canadian starters on the field at all times, and even that's not quite so simple. I think it would be a lot better and function better probably if you change the ratio to, instead of 7 out of 24, make it 4 out of 12. Just say 4 Canadians have to be on the field at all times. It would guarantee 1 extra Canadian starter, and then the trade-off could be that you have more Americans playing on special teams, and I don't think that would hurt anybody's feelings. I think that could be a win-win, because one side of the argument is that we should have more American players up here, and if we shifted that balance a little bit, the other side of the coin is we would have 8 Canadian starters instead of 7, so it's a win-win for both sides, and it would also help flip some of those teams who are loading up their defenses with their Americans. Some teams have like 1 starting Canadian on defense at safety, and that's it. And I think that's a problem for the league. I don't think it's a good thing to have half of your Canadians on one side of the almost all of your Canadians on one side of the football and none on the other side. It also doesn't help develop Canadian talent at specific positions, such as quarterback, such as defensive back. There have been a lot of great defensive backs playing Canada West football and probably all over the country, and some who end up down in American colleges who end up not playing in the CFL at all. Some of the best defensive backs, because it's not a quote-unquote Canadian position. And even Tavon Campbell has talked about that himself, where he felt like there was more of a stigma around him being a Canadian when he was in the CFL the first time. Then he went down to the NFL, and they didn't care what his nationality was. He made the rosters, the different teams that he played for, like Jacksonville, the Chargers, etc. And so when he ended up back in Canada, all of a sudden it was different, because it's like, oh, he made it in the NFL. Well, we know he's good enough. But teams shied away from wanting a Canadian at that position, and I think that's a really big mistake. I don't feel like we need to develop a whole bunch more Canadian offensive linemen. We need to develop more Canadians at every position, and they're missing out on a few of those key positions, and I think that's where the ratio fails, and it has failed for a really long time, because the whole purpose of it is to develop talent at all these different positions. And one area where they really dropped the ball was probably more around the fact that they didn't develop any Canadian quarterbacks for so many years because of the regressive rule where you had to have so many Canadian starters, but it didn't matter who your quarterback was because they wanted to make sure that the quarterback play was really, really good. But the problem that people didn't understand is that if you got a good Canadian quarterback, you might think he could be one of your best guys, but you would say he's not helping us ratio-wise because it doesn't matter who plays. It helps us ratio-wise for him to be at another position. Brad Sinopoli, you might remember, was a really good receiver for the Ottawa Redblacks, and they probably wanted him to be a quarterback in the CFL, but then realized he doesn't help us from a ratio standpoint, so let's kick him to another position, and that's how he became a slot back. A really good slot back, but it's kind of too bad that we didn't see more of what he could have done had he been the starting quarterback. Now, they fixed the ratio from that standpoint. I still think that they could do a little more to mandate at least one Canadian quarterback on the rosters, and they can do other things to compensate Americans on the other side. That'll do it for hour 2 of the program. Coming up, we will go to Ottawa and check in with AJ Jakubec, the radio voice of the Ottawa Redblacks, and we'll do the midweek sound-off with Scott Schultz, brought to you by Lakeview Insurance and Revive Men's Health Clinic. You're listening to the Sportscage on 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
We are the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM Regina, a Harvard media station.
News is brought to you by Echo Sound in Fort Capel. Stay connected with a new cell phone from Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer. Call 306-332-6711.
The news is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of Saskatchewan's biggest selection of Ram trucks and Jeeps. CrestviewChrysler.ca.
It's 5 o'clock. Good evening. Mostly cloudy and 25 degrees in Regina. I'm Will Manzik from the SAS Today newsroom with 620 CKRM News. The city of Moose Jaw has reopened its 2 dog parks after an investigation found no evidence the parks caused the death or illnesses of several dogs. The parks had been closed since late June, while water quality and toxicology testing were completed. The city says water samples met Canadian drinking water standards, and toxicology results found no toxins linked to the parks. Officials are reminding dog owners to take all personal items, including water bowls and bottles, home after each visit. Regina police have released their stats after the Queen City X this past weekend. They say 60 missing kids were returned to their families or caregivers, which is an average of 12 a day. Officers say there were 11 consensual altercations, which resulted in no charges. 3 assaults. Police say one of them included bear spray, another on a peace officer. 9 people were arrested for intoxication. Another 7 required medical assistance, and police say there were 2 thefts. These stats only reflect the incidents that Regina police were involved with. Wildfires in British Columbia continue to rage on, and even as damage is being assessed along the Okanagan Lake, officials warn of the potential for more fires. Cliff Chapman is the director of wildfire operations for the BC Wildfire Service. He says temperatures are expected to increase to the mid-30s.
If it materializes, which we're continuing to monitor this essentially hourly to look for timing. We will continue to put messaging out on our social feeds as well as information bulletins on the timing of this event, but it will mean that we will see more fires across southern BC.
Back home in Saskatchewan, the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says there are 33 active wildfires. 6 of them are contained, 2 of them are not. 19 are under assessment, and 6 more are protecting values. Regina's latest growth monitoring report says the city is adding more housing to meet demand from a population increase of 27,000 people since 2021. The report says building permits reached a 5-year high in 2025, creating 1,674 new housing units, with most being multi-unit developments. City officials say the data will help guide future infrastructure and housing decisions. The report also notes Regina remains Canada's most affordable major city to buy a home, based on RBC's latest housing report. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sastoday.ca and 620CKRM.com. Weather is next.
Come on. What happened? Broken strings again.
That's the third one this summer.
Maybe the beach doesn't like your solos, man.
Hey, man, while you're changing that up, we're going to head to Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer.
Get connected with SaskTel Internet, Max Stream TV, and the latest cell phones. Laptops are in stock at great prices, and once they're gone, prices are going up. So now's the time to buy. Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer in Fort Capel. EchoSound.ca.
Matt Fisher here, General Manager at Crestview Chrysler. You know, our staff here is the best in town, so anytime they're ready for a new vehicle, they get the best price. For a limited time, we're giving that same discount to you. And you know what that means. You pay what we pay. We got a huge selection of Ram trucks, Wranglers, Durangos, Pacificas, and everything in between. If you're shopping for something new, this is officially the best time to stop in and see us. Don't miss employee pricing at Crestview in Regina.
Weather for Next Gen Coatings. Spray coatings for truck bed liners, rocker panels, and more. Same company, new name. 1865 McCarra Street, Regina. And Kevin's Marine. Make the most of summer with a boat or pontoon from Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel. kevinsmarine.com.
In your precision weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, a southwest wind between 10 to 20 kilometers an hour, a low of 12. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a northwest wind between 20 to 40, gusting to 55, a high of 24 degrees. Tomorrow night's low, 7. Friday, partly sunny, northwest wind between 15 to 30, a high of 23. Saturday, mostly sunny, a high of 23. And Sunday, spotty showers and thunderstorms, a high of 22. Taking a look across the province at this hour, Saskatoon 22 degrees, Swift Current 25, Assiniboia 25, Broadview and Moosomin 22, Yorkton and Melville 21, Estevan 23, Weyburn 24. Right now in Moose Jaw, it's mostly cloudy. There's a northwest wind at 29, gusting to 44, and it's 26 degrees. In Regina, it's mostly cloudy. There's a northwest wind at 38, gusting to 50, and it's 25 degrees. For more local news that matters to you, subscribe to the daily newsletter at sastoday.ca.
For over 40 years, you've known them as Regina's trusted vehicle protection specialists. Now they're introducing the next gen of coatings. New name, new level of protection. They're now Next Gen Coatings. 3 generations of their family have served your family, and that hasn't changed. Same owners, same commitment, ready for the next gen of truck beds, rocker panels, trailers, bumpers, and running boards. The company hasn't changed, just the name. Next Gen Coatings. 1865 McCarra Street. The next gen starts now.
This is the year to own the boat of your dreams. At Kevin's Marine, discover legendary Lund boats, built for a lifetime of serious fishing and family fun. Stretch out and relax, or enjoy the day with family on a brand new pontoon from Bentley or Crest, or make a splash in a 4-wind sport boat, all powered by trusted Mercury 4-stroke motors. Right now, get manufacturer rebates, dealer discounts, and low payment financing. Make decking easy with Shoremaster aluminum docks and lifts. Visit Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel or kevinsmarine.com.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products. RMP summer offer on now until August 31st. Receive a $25 SO gift card with purchase of a vehicle health check and oil change package. Visit RMP today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
And McGuire and Colson Schultz with you on this Wednesday edition of the Sports Cage. Still ahead in this hour, we'll do our midweek sound off with Scott Schultz. I'll be curious to hear his thoughts about the predicament the Saskatchewan Roughriders are in with the trap game coming up on Friday night against the Ottawa Redblacks. Ottawa's had real trouble trying to win games in Regina ever since they came back into the CFL back in the 2014 season. I don't think that even that first year when they were an expansion team and heavy underdogs, I remember Henry Burris surrounded by this young offensive line and young receivers and young running backs came in here and actually gave the Riders a pretty good go. I think that this year's Ottawa squad is going to face longer odds getting a victory in Regina than that team did way back in 2014. And in moments, we expect to go to Ottawa to help tee up that game on Friday night. And, I've been the broadcaster for a lot of losing teams, not so much in football. The only teams that I've broadcast games for on the gridiron have been the Regina Thunder and the Regina Rams, and both of them have been pretty good. The Thunder downright dominant at times, and the Rams have been pretty good too, going back to the 24 season, including their Hardy Cup triumph. But it can take some of the joy out of it if you're around a team enough that's struggling really bad. I've been around teams that struggled in other sports, particularly hockey, but it's also a fascinating story. Like, if you think about it, if you're around a team that goes 0-18, you're going to remember that forever. And maybe it's not fun, maybe the athletes aren't fun to be around, but it's kind of an epic thing. And it was like when the Detroit Lions went 0-16, I think it was around game 10 or 11, they finally started talking about just win one, because they were getting close enough to the end of the season, and they weren't afraid. It wasn't taboo or anything. Of course, they did not succeed. They ended up going 0 for the entire season, and the NFL has had two teams in the modern era with a 16-game schedule. Nobody has gone winless on a 17-game schedule, but there were two teams who did it on 16 games, the Cleveland Browns one year and the 2008 Detroit Lions. But nobody has ever run the table in reverse in the CFL with an 18-game schedule. We've had that schedule now for 40 years. This is the 40th. I'm just doing the math. Yeah, this is the 40th season that we've had an 18-game schedule, and it's kind of remarkable that it's never happened. But it goes to show that this CFL thing that we have going north of the border is a marathon and not a sprint, and it makes a really big difference, even just going from 14 to 16 or 16 to 18 games. And I think that's a big reason why we've never seen a team run the table and win all 18 games either. In the NFL, we've only seen the one team do it, and that was the 2007 New England Patriots. But it's never happened up here, and I don't think it ever will, just because of the amount of games that you have to win. One thing that I'm not a fan of is the playoff format change that's coming for next season. I think that on that, I'm going to call it a wild card. I don't even remember if they called it a wild card Saturday, but it'll be like a CFL wild card Saturday where there's going to be 4 games happening. And that's going to be cool. I think having the big flurry of games happening, there'll probably be some Canadian college games happening that weekend too. It'll give a little more of that NFL vibe as far as red zone TV and things like that. But I think that having 8 out of 9 teams in the postseason is a bit of a disgrace. What I would have preferred to see is some outside-the-box thinking. In the National Football League, they're really pushing to get to 18 games. I would have loved to see the CFL say, we're going to get extra revenue, so we're going to use this as an opportunity to say, we're going to drop from 18 games down to 16 games. And everybody's still going to end up ahead financially. So everybody ends up ahead financially. The games mean a little bit more because we play 2 fewer games. Fewer guys are going to get injured because we're playing 2 fewer games. So you get man games back. And it's just better overall for player safety, which is something that everybody's always complaining about in football. It's remarkable to me that the NFL takes so much heat, deservedly so, for trying to expand their schedule. And the CFL does it, and it's just a press release, and that's that. And I guess it's a matter of economics where the players here just need anything they can get, and they're just accepting it. But I think it's kind of too bad that the players feel like they have to accept that, playing more games, and nobody bats an eye. But you do it in the NFL, and people freak out. I guess it's just because we expect more out of the NFL because they have money and the CFL doesn't.
Maybe. It would also probably come down to whatever the existing player agreement is, right? Because the NFLPA has in their agreement that it can't be more than 17 games right now, and the NFL would have to negotiate that to make it happen. Honestly, I'm expecting we'll see that concession. It'll be we'll give you an 18th game or like the players will say, we'll give you an 18th game if you give us all grass fields in every stadium.
I was just going to say, do you think
that's
what
what's
are they
going
to give back? And I think that's probably it.
I don't know if it's going to be like in the next couple of years. It might be a little bit further down, but I think that's the trade that will end up happening. My one pin that I'm going to try burst your bubble with here is if we got rid of 2 games in the regular season for the CFL, we would probably be losing that revenue as well then, though, wouldn't we?
No, you would, but I'm just saying if you go into a year where your TV revenue jumps high enough and it's not as significant as people first thought they would, but every franchise is going to get a bump of more than or roughly $4 million with this TV deal. So there's an argument that could be made that by wiping out that one game might mean you're probably not going to quite lose that much, and there could be benefits on the other side because you're lowering your operating costs. You're also limiting the inventory. There's a lot of fans who say, hey, I'm just going to go to a game a year. I see a game a season. So you might sell, I'm not going to suggest you're going to sell as many tickets for 8 home games as you would for 9, but I do think there's a diminishing return the more games you have. It's like if the Riders played 12 home games, your average crowd per game would be less. And so my point is you might be able to sell almost as many. It's kind of like the Toronto Argonauts decided to have 3 of their home games instead of being played in the GTA and muddle around. They accepted a buyout from the league to move those home games. One was here. One was in Winnipeg. I forget where the other one was. Hamilton. Okay.
Yeah.
So they accepted a buyout from the league, and I've heard Keith Pelly say that the Argos are going to have bigger, better crowds this season because they took the same marketing budget, and instead of allocating it for 9 different games, they've allocated it for 6 different games. I'm skeptical. I'm not convinced that Keith Pelly has any ideas for how to fix the CFL in Toronto. They did that... I forget what it was called, but that NFL, CFL thing, Bills, Argos partnership, whatever that was supposed to be.
It's still a thing.
Yeah, sure. Is it really a thing other than just in the eyes of management? I mean, they bring Jim Kelly along. They have Doug Flutie come up. And Keith Pelly said, well, the game we did, it was the biggest crowd to date that season. And if you check the numbers, it was the biggest crowd, like barely. And they might have had a bigger crowd because generally the Argos do draw better in the fall anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think that cozying up to the NFL offers any solutions. I don't think it does anything in Southern Ontario. I think that there's a lot of other stuff that they have to try first. But one thing that does intrigue me about the Argos and their situation with BMO Field is they share that facility with the soccer team. Yep. Toronto FC, and MLS is moving to a more of a winter schedule, and I don't think that playing in outdoor BMO Field is going to work for Toronto FC in December, January. They already do it in February, but I think if you're turning it from like 2 cold months to 5 cold months, that's going to be a serious problem. And I wonder if Rogers will undertake the project to find them an indoor facility to play in. And if they do that, that would open up a lot of intriguing possibilities to turn BMO Field into like Canada's national gridiron football stadium. Because with that hybrid turf that they use, you could play a lot more, and by turf it's grass, it's hybrid, It's like 95% natural grass, 5% turf. You could have a lot more football events there. I'm talking like Vanier Cups. You could put the Vanier Cup in Toronto every year after year again. And you might even be able to use that facility for some other games. They're going to use it for college football this fall anyways. You might even be able to use that facility for some of the college teams in the area. So I think that could open up some possibilities because the fact that it's not their venue and they don't control the venue is actually a pretty big problem because you can't have tailgating and they can't pick their own dates. That's a big problem. They rarely get all the Saturdays that they want to have in that facility. And when you can't prepare the facility for like 4 or 5 days in advance, it's harder to do promotional stuff in the facility. For example, why don't they have a game where they have like 50 pinball machines spread out through the lobbies of the stadium, and have everybody come in and play these really cool games of pinball, and everybody pay $5, $10, whatever, and have the money go to a charity like the Pinball Clemens Foundation. Just goofy stuff like that. And when you don't control the facility, you don't have the ability to do as many of those promotional things. The Argonauts ran into trouble about the moment that their home stadium was not Argo specific. And I'm talking about the old CNE, Canadian National Exhibition Stadium, when the Toronto Blue Jays came along. And I wonder if getting back to an Argo specific facility could maybe help a little bit. And if the soccer team feels like that facility does not suit their needs, it makes you wonder if maybe some possibilities could open up for the Argonauts to do that. Time will tell, and we will see. Still ahead on this hour of the Sports Cage, we will do the midweek sound-off with Scott Schultz. We'll step aside and take a break. You are listening to 620 CKRM and watching at sportscage.com.
Rider Nation lives on 620 CKRM. I'm Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Friday is game day as the Riders take on the Ottawa Redblacks. Countdown to kickoff with Tegan Whitco and Wes Cates is at 4. The pregame show's at 6. And kickoff with Luke Mullender and I is at 7. Saskatchewan Roughrider football on the Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network is brought to you by SaskTel, the Cooperators, Redhead Equipment, Prairie Ford Dealers, and Sask Power. Stream every moment of Rider football at Sportscage.com. The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
A potluck in summer? Heck no! I'm not cooking for 30 in my sweltering kitchen. I'm bringing Western Pizza. That's the very definition of working smarter, not harder. Be the potluck hero and roll up with fresh za as your coworkers try to figure out which homemade dish gets the one spoon from the office kitchen. Or as Auntie Janet tries to shoo away the flies attacking her egg salad sandwiches, baking in the sun. Nope, it's Western Pizza for the potluck win. Dine in or take out today.
And get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
What's the deal with carpet? Why do they call it wall-to-wall? Where else was it gonna go?
No matter what flooring you need, the experienced local team at Flooring Superstore can help you find the right fit for your home and your budget. Whether it's hardwood, laminate, carpet, tile, vinyl, linoleum, artificial turf, floors for gyms, they've got it all.
You will never be even, Steven.
Flooring Superstore. Quality floor covering at the best price. FlooringSuperstoreRegina.ca.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to Sports Cage. Missed any part of the show? Check out the podcast powered by Freeze Tolman at 620ckrm.com and sportscage.com.
Midweek sound off with Scott Schultz still ahead in hour 3 of this Wednesday Sports Cage. Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz with you. And the Riders secondary has been the topic of much discussion about what they're going to do in this game against Ottawa with the injuries that have been brewing around, particularly to one Tavon Campbell. And Nelson Lacombo was saying at practice this week that they have to be prepared because they don't want to underestimate the 0-7 Ottawa Redblacks.
Yeah, we just keep, doing our jobs. That's really what it comes down to. Everybody understands that, even though Ottawa is not where they want to be, they're still a professional team, and they're going to come in and do their jobs, right? So we got to be ready for that and continue to do ours.
And Nelson's going to have to carry a pretty heavy load in that secondary, I think, particularly given the fact that they're going to have somebody new at that one spot with Tavon Campbell out of the lineup. And Coach Mace, I think, is pretty excited to get Nelson back, as he indicated today.
Yeah, I don't know. He's practiced a couple weeks here, and he's looking better and better. But, if we trend in that direction, yeah, it certainly would help us just having somebody, a veteran back there who's been able to play for us in the past. But, ultimately there's some few things kind of in limbo here. We'll see how we roll.
And that is head coach Corey Mace from earlier today at practice. Lots to think about in the last couple of days before that game against the Ottawa Redblacks. I think there's a lot of pressure on this team to win this game because, number one, it would be an awful humiliation to lose this game, let's be honest, regardless of what your record is. That team that won in 2003 when the Riders went into Hamilton and they lost, I know if you talk to some of the players, and we'll hear from Scott Schultz momentarily, that felt like a pretty big letdown and a bit of a humiliation because you don't look at it and say, well, we were having a pretty good year. We were 7-5, now we're 7-6. We're pretty good. You feel like you're squandering not once in a lifetime, but once in a long time opportunities. You need to strike while the iron is hot. And for the Roughriders to get a third of the way, almost halfway through the season, within striking distance of first place, it hurts enough to lose games. It hurts doubly to lose games that you really should win. And they don't want to be getting all the publicity for the wrong reasons if they're the first team to lose to the 2026 Ottawa Redblacks. And some of us just want to see history being made. Right now, we go out on to the Western Pizza Hotline, and we are joined by Crofty from Croft Electric. Are you going to the game Friday?
Oh, you bet. Excited. Looking forward to it, actually. It should be a beautiful day. Do some tailgating before, and, excited for the game.
Have you guys just been getting flooded with calls in the heat about everything this summer?
Well, the heat definitely tests your electrical system and puts it to its test. Everybody thinks, it's the winter that's the problem. Actually, winter or cold is good for electrical systems. You don't want them to fail in there, so we got to be prepared and make sure we're ahead of that kind of thing because we don't want to be out there fixing that stuff in the winter. But heat is definitely hard on electrical systems.
Is it if the wife is really hassling me about getting some electrical work done for some new pot lights that we want to put up in time for Christmas, is this a good time to do it? Like, do you guys get a heavy rush in the fall, and maybe it's better to call ahead in the summertime?
It is. Great timing to be calling for any of that kind of stuff, especially, holiday season lights, permanently mounted holiday lights. Stumbling right now. Sorry. And yes, let's get out there, get them done now. Slip and fall on snow and ice if we want to get ahead of that kind of stuff. Anything we can do in this nicer weather saves you time and money, saves us a lot of things. Plus, just with everything going on, we're really busy. Everybody's busy right now. So it's a good time to get stuff booked in, get ahead of things, make sure our product pricing is locked in, make sure everybody can get the stuff done before winter.
If somebody wants to book in or just wants to talk to Crofty, what do they do?
Well, follow us on all the socials for sure. Keep up and date with our Friday Funnies and our Tip Tuesdays. This time of day, go on our website, www.croftelectric. There is a Contact Us page there. You can apply for a job because we are looking for journey persons, as well as join our preferred customer program. There's little links for both of those right on there. But, 9 to 5 or 8, or sorry, I shouldn't say 9 to 5, 7 to 4:30, you can give us a call at 306-586-1333, and Amy will put you right through to me.
As always, enjoy the game Friday night.
Looking forward to it. You as well.
Go Riders. That is Crofty from Croft Electric. Coming up next, we will do the midweek sound-off with Scott Schultz coming up on the other side. You're listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM or watching at sportscage.com.
The Roughriders season is here, and the biggest 50-50 in Saskatchewan is back. Last year's 50-50 raised over $3.3 million for amateur football in Saskatchewan, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Rider Nation. This year, we have bigger loyalty and early bird prizes than ever before, not to mention those life-changing 50-50 jackpots. See all of the prizes and buy your tickets today at riders5050.ca, and never miss a chance to win when you sign up for the 50-50 Club.
Riders 50-50 is presented by ISC.
Lottery license LR260010.
Great coaches make great calls. And at home, you're in control of the game. Add SaskTel TV to your lineup and enjoy popular channels, including sports in stunning 4K for as low as $40 a month. So, what do you say, Coach? Ready to add in the difference maker? Visit SaskTel.com/make-the-call to learn more. Conditions apply.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
A potluck in summer? Heck no. I'm not cooking for 30 in my sweltering kitchen. I'm bringing Western Pizza. That's the very definition of working smarter, not harder. Be the potluck hero and roll up with fresh za as your coworkers try to figure out which homemade dish gets the one spoon from the office kitchen. Or as Auntie Janet tries to shoo away the flies attacking her egg salad sandwiches, baking in the sun. Nope, it's Western Pizza for the potluck win. Dine in or take out today.
And get it hot, get it fast. Western Pizza.
Play of the game? Touchdown! More like the game to play. The new Saskatchewan Roughriders Scratch and Win ticket. It's your chance to win 10 years of Rider season tickets, a premium suite for the home opener and the Labor Day Classic, and tons of Rider swag. Plus, 2 chances to win $75,000. Tickets available at your favorite lottery retailers. Proudly brought to you by Sask Lotteries, supporting sport, culture, and recreation across the province. Please play responsibly.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. From power tools to skid steers, they probably have what you need for your job. 600 Albert Street, where you deal with the owner. The MidWeek Sound Off. Powered by Revive Men's Health Clinic. Treatment for men's ED without pills or surgery. Discreet and confidential. Visit revivemd.com. Lakeview Insurance. Get a second opinion on your coverage with Scott Schultz and his team. Protecting what you built.
Scott Schultz joins us now for the midweek sound off. And, I dug out of my garden shed this really cool little mouse trap because I thought it would be cool to show. And I often wonder if coaches actually do that sort of thing. You played pro ball and college ball for a long time. Does that actually happen? Did a coach ever come in and put mouse traps in everybody's lockers before a game, a trap game?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that happen, and various other things to motivate the room. I can remember in our Grey Cup year in 2007, the offensive line coach came in and had stacks of cash, and he was slamming it down on the table, showing everyone that's what we were going to get with another playoff win. So, yeah, coaches will use tactics sometimes to light a fire under the butts of the locker room for sure.
I hate to bring up a painful memory, and I know we've got some video of it, but there was a game when you played on a Rough Rider squad that was facing a very similar predicament to what this year's Rough Rider squad is facing. The 7-5 team that you were part of in 2003 went into Hamilton on a Saturday night. They were 0-12, and it didn't happen. It didn't work out for you. Do you talk about what that felt like, being the one team? By the way, I'm grateful you guys lost that game because it would have broken my heart and a lot of other people's hearts to see Ron Lancaster go through the humiliation of an 0-18 season. But I'm sure you guys weren't feeling that way that night. What was that like?
We were trying. Trust me. I mean, you don't ever want to be known as the one the one win on a winless season for a team. And it was surreal because you get to a point where things start falling apart or things aren't going right. And then, we're going to get it fixed. And then it doesn't get fixed. And then slowly but surely, it's just a nightmare. And then I think that was the game, correct me if I'm wrong, where Gene McConkey recovered a fumble and then thought it was a good idea to extend the play and toss it to Andrew Green, who was another stellar offensive lineman and / running back, who then fumbled the ball again, and we lost possession, leading to their win.
That was a pretty sweet play, and I know we've got the clip of it, and we'll bring it up. But did you look back at that game and feel like you took them lightly or anything like that? Or was it just simple as, no, they were just better than us that night?
I don't think, I don't think anyone ever has, the words don't come out of your mouth like, they're not that good, or I'm taking these guys lightly. I think it's just, maybe it's like that internal conversation. You make a deal with yourself that you're good and you feel good and you're going to work hard, but there's something about this team that doesn't deserve your full attention. And I don't think anybody ever gets to that, but it's just what happens is when you don't dedicate the maximal amount of attention to the task that you're doing in anything, much less football, things will start to unravel. And then what happens is, how do you react to things unraveling when you're in the now? And it just becomes a calamity. And it was a rough one for sure.
What advice would you give to this year's team to not fall into that same trap?
Cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and if anything, dedicate more time, a little more film time, a little more study, just to ensure that there isn't a letdown, that, they're all pro players. And like we talk about this all the time, the other team gets paid too. They've all got contracts and they're going to be vying and they're desperate and for a win. So it's a very dangerous team when they're backed into a corner like this.
It's almost like they're going up against a wounded animal. There's so many things that happen on the field that those of us who think we're experts because we look at the stats and everything, and we're really not because we never played the sport and we don't see what happens away from the football. I think about their secondary, and if we saw what happened last year when Tavon Campbell was injured late in the season, how much trouble they had filling that void, especially with the Canadian back there, and he's not going to play in this game. How much do the guys up front, I'm talking about the pass rushers, the guys who played your position, notice that?
Oh, you definitely notice it because, everyone gets into their ego a little bit and they think they're the best and they get a sack or they make a big play, they celebrate, and immediately they think it's all because of them. But then as the replay unfolds, you see your teammates working for your success, and it is difficult. And the defensive line, nobody recognizes that more than the D-line, because if the back end struggles, then it really gets tough up front. And one of the ways that the group can alleviate that is just by, it doesn't have to be sacks, it doesn't have to be tackles for loss, it just has to be constant pressure, moving the quarterback off his launch point and causing disruption, and then slowly but surely work that into some plays that it will have a bite, like a sack, like a safety or a tackle for loss.
I don't know how much you've had the opportunity to watch this year's Redblacks squad, but I've watched them a lot, and what intrigues me about them is they find so many different ways to lose. One game it'll be their offense, or their red zone offense. Another game it'll be their short yardage defense. It's always silly little things. And I sat at the old man lunch the one day that Tom Shepard has every Friday, and I was talking about this with Al Ford, that when the Riders played in Ottawa earlier this year, they were trailing 10-0. And then they kicked the ball to Ottawa, they fumble, and you just knew in that moment that they were done. Even though they had a 10-0 lead, they were not mentally strong enough to withstand something bad happening. You've played on some good teams, and earlier in your time in Saskatchewan, some not so good teams. Talk about what that's like when you're in a locker room and you know that the morale is low enough that they just don't have it. They don't have the mental toughness to get through that adversity.
It's a scary place to be on a team when that's kind of the tone or your situation that you find yourself in. And like you said, I've been on some of those teams with the Riders, and I guess to me what that says is, they're finding ways to lose. I agree with that. To me, that's a little bit. I wouldn't say it's a positive, but it shows that they're not. The whole team isn't bad. It's just they're taking turns at lacking the discipline and getting caught with the self-sabotaging activities. To me, that shows that you can see that that's a team that is going to right the ship at some point. A lot of those times on teams with the Riders, those 9-9 teams where we had to win 3 or 4 or 5 games in a row sometimes just to make the playoffs, you would see those ups and downs. And as far as the mentality goes, it's almost like you got to have that stoic belief in oneself and in each other that you can figure it out. And I tell you, what we did was, especially the 06 year and 07 year leading up into that great Grey Cup win, was the mentality of the defense was, no matter what happens, no matter where we get inserted in the game or called upon, our goal is give the offense the ball back. The simple theory was that they have the most proclivity to score. Let's put the ball in their hands as many times as we can. And so our success wasn't a sack, a pick, a big tackle. It was, did we get off the field? Can we get the ball back? How many times did we get the ball back to our offense? And I think you got to play some of those mental gymnastics sometimes to get through rough spots.
We're seeing some of the clips from that 2003 season where Glenn Suter sat down and he had a good chat with Andrew Green, Gene Mikowski, Jeremy O'Day, and I think he was interrogating Gino and Andrew and their role in that lateral that you talked about. And we'll see the hands on for those of you who are watching on the YouTube feed. But I was joking. We had Andrew Green on the TV show this week, and I said, I was fine with Gino being my MLA until I saw those hands, how the ball just totally squirted between his hands. But I want to talk with you a little bit about Ryan Dinwiddie. He's been building a bit of a, I don't know if reputation is the word, he's been getting in the habit since last season of calling players out, and sometimes by name. And he went to that well once in Toronto, and the next week it seemed like the Argos responded. Then he did it again a little bit later in the season, then they responded. Then he did it again and they stopped responding. We've seen him do some of that in Ottawa, and I just wonder, you would know better than anybody being in the locker room with those guys, does that get old fast? I mean, do you get to a point where if he's just calling guys out and never really taking accountability himself, where the guys all of a sudden maybe want him to fail?
You know what? It does get old fast. It's mortifying, especially anybody at a job when you get called out by the boss, whether you're working a 9 to 5 in society or you're lucky enough to play a kid's game and that be your deal. When a coach or the boss calls you out, it's rough. And then to your point, I do think that when used sparingly once in a while, maybe once a season, you can do that. But if you start doing it and leaning on that, it gets old quick and you lose the room. One time I can think of, I got called out by coaches all the time. You're always trying to work and get better. But I can remember one time there was a bit of a lull in the sack department for myself and Nate Davis. And Roy Shivers took to the leader post and had a big article about his 2 top-tier D tackles that weren't getting it done. And so I had clipped it out of the article, out of the paper, taped it in my locker. And, Roy Shivers comes strolling through the locker room on game day. And he looks at it, looks at the highlight, looks at me and says, well, hope that lights a fire under your ass, and just kept on walking. And it definitely worked. I think I got a sack or 2 that game, and same with Nate. But like I said, you can't overuse a tactic like that. That's something that's deep in the management / coaching bag, as you'd say. And you don't want to go to the well too many times.
Do the and in your career, it often seemed, because most of your career was with Danny Barrett as the head coach and Roy Shivers as a general manager, seemed to me like they did this good cop, bad cop thing going. Is that accurate? And do you think that's effective, where it's like maybe in this case Dinwiddie's a bad cop and there's somebody else on the staff who's building them back up?
Well, definitely. And I think the way that Roy and Danny played that was expert, because one was the GM, the higher up boss, and one was the field boss and the coach that you dealt with every day. And so, hey, the coach has got to answer too, right? You can't fight City Hall, and, the buck stops with Roy. So that kind of works. I think it gets a little more divisive when you're, if you're the head coach doing that, and then you're looking for that kind of relief act within your staff, because the head coach is the head coach. He's the head guy. So it gets pretty tough if you're going to lead with those kinds of tactics.
There were always stories of Roy. There was one story in a game, and you can defer this question if you don't want to answer it, but one story I've often been curious about was near the end of Roy's time. I think it was like a week before he left. In the locker room in Edmonton after a bad loss, Danny was talking, or he's up on the table and he's yelling at everybody like he did from time to time. Danny started talking, and then he turned and he lashed out at Danny. And it's almost like, you're in this with the players, and so I can chew you out. The fact that I'm chewing you out means that the players themselves won't take it as personal either.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I do remember, the tensions were tough, and there were times when Roy felt like he had to stick his nose in the locker room and give an address. And I have been privy to some. I remember I was getting a massage one time. Our treatment room would spill back into the back meeting rooms in the old stadium. They had just a curtain dividing the meeting rooms, and the defense or the receivers were in there, and Roy was in there giving them an earful and stuff. So those scenarios definitely happen. And like you said, like when Roy did do that, and Danny was in the room and being superseded by the GM, it did feel like, it was okay, because the head coach was even getting it, right? And so it was just kind of everybody was on the same team and fighting for the same thing.
Getting to today, I just love talking about those early 2000s Roughriders stories. I'm obsessed with that era. But I was going to say, looking at this year's squad, pretty good record in a pretty good fight. It was nice to see Commonwealth Stadium look mostly full. I'd forgotten what a pretty stadium that is when it's mostly full. I hate the change to the playoff format that's coming next year, where it's going to be one team miss instead of three teams miss. And we brought up the comparison yesterday about the old pennant races that we used to have in baseball. It feels to me like we're having the last great pennant race this year between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Edmonton Elks, because that first round bye will never have the importance again after this season that it will this year. How do you feel about that playoff format change, and do you think that's an accurate portrayal of the race that we're in for?
I agree with the sentiments that you're putting out there, for sure. I mean, it just to me, maybe we'll see it different in real time, but to me, it just seems like it takes out all of the urgency and the value of having it the way that we've had it for so many years. And then when you get to the point where just one team's not making it, I don't know. To me, I think it'll breed in some of that laziness that some of the other leagues suffer from, like the NBA, with load management and these kinds of things, where I don't like that we're changing to that. I don't like that it takes away emphasis from winning and getting out ahead and getting those wins stacked up to give you that reward at the end of the season in a bye week.
Yeah, it just kind of cheapens the regular season, and that's supposed to be the fun part of it throughout the grind. Hey, listen. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I had nothing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the other thing is I might look at the risk management side of things and some unintended consequences, where when that shift does happen, there's going to be more revenue maybe from a streaming media licensing perspective. But at the same time, it's gonna cause a little bit of unrest in the fanship, and it might have the unintended consequences where fans don't show up as much because they don't care, because the games don't mean as much because of this format. So, I think we got to keep a close eye on that as well.
I get a kick out of how the commissioner's saying this will be so much better because we'll have more games to sell on TV, and he's ignoring the fact that teams have been complaining for decades. Playoff games are sometimes hard to sell because you don't have a lot of time to promote them because they're not on the schedule. So now we're throwing in more playoff games. Is that going to eat into whatever gains were made? We shall see. This has been fun, and we'll do it again next week.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one, guys.
Okay, that is Scott Schultz with the midweek sound-off for Lakeview Insurance. Get a second opinion on your coverage with Scott Schultz and his team, protecting what you've built. And for Revive Men's Health Clinic, treatment for men's ED without pills or surgery, discreet and confidential. Visit revivemd.com. Time to break. When we come back, we will wrap. This is the Wednesday Sports Cage on 620 CKRM and on the YouTube feed at sportscage.com.
Get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
Western Pizza is more than just pizza, and we don't mean ribs and pasta. But for the record, you can get that there too. No, Western Pizza is the perfect partner for every occasion. From late nights polishing papers to parties full of people passing it around while conversation peaks. It's premium leftovers. It's what you pick up for a picnic on a pristine summer day. And of course, it always pleases the palate. Dine in or take out today.
And get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
Out here in southern Saskatchewan, the sun shows up for work every day. Might as well make it earn its keep. That's where Keln Solar comes in. These folks travel all over the province helping people put solar on their homes, farms, and cabins. They're local guys, Sask-born, Sask-raised, and not going anywhere. Except, to your place. Now's the time to start planning for spring and summer 2026 bookings. Give Keln Solar a call and they'll come show you your best options. Keln Solar. They move the power so you don't have to. KelnSolar.com.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
I'll get $300. You want to bet $300? Hi, I'm Lauren with McBid's Auctioneers. We may be one of Saskatchewan's newer auction companies, but our approach is built on family values, integrity, and service. At McBid's, we specialize in farm equipment and construction equipment sales, bringing buyers and sellers together with transparency and trust. If you're ready to bid, why not make it a priority right now? Head to McBids.ca and register today. McBids Auctioneers, straightforward auctions, done right.
Sold! You wouldn't show up to an Oilers game in red and gold, and you wouldn't try to clear a Regina snowdrift in a subcompact hatchback, and you definitely wouldn't try and flip a steak with a screwdriver. So why are you heading to the job site without your tickets? For fall protection, first aid, respiratory and drug and alcohol testing, to scissor lift training, it's all right here in Regina. Don't take the risk. Armor Safety Inc. provides comprehensive occupational safety and health services to Saskatchewan industry. Get your armor on. ArmorSafety.com.
The 620 CKRM Country Corner.
Check out the Exchange Folk Festival, Saturday, August 8th at Victoria Park in downtown Regina. Free admission with live music starting at noon and going all throughout the day. Full details can be found on our website events page. Help out a great cause with burgers and beer in support of Stars Air Ambulance Rescue on the Prairies. Tuesday, August 25th at Creekside Brew Pub in Regina. A burger, side, and a beer for only $30 with the chance to win a Stars gift basket. Presented by Creekside Brew Pub and Original 16. Stop in at Creekside for your tickets. And Billick Financial presents CKRM's Heartstrings and Honky Tonks. Monday, September 21st at Dark Hall in Regina. A special night giving you an exclusive look into the heart of the Music City for one night only. Michelle Wright, the Johnner Brothers, Kelsey Kulik, Clayton Bellamy, and more. Stop by the Dark Hall box office or grab your tickets on our website. Big thanks to McBids.
For more information, visit 620ckrm.com. It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Steelcraft Doors Regina, made in Western Canada for Western Canadians.
Lots of baseball to talk about on this Sports Ticker. The Toronto Blue Jays pulling out the one-run 5-4 victory over the Houston Astros earlier today. Ernie Clement with a 2-run bomb in the 10th, and the Blue Jays, don't look now, back-to-back wins in Houston. Closer to home, the Regina Red Sox are home to the Weyburn Beavers. That's a doubleheader starting just after 6 o'clock at Curry Field tonight as the Sox wrap up their season. They will finish third and go up against the number 2 Saskatoon Berries in the first round. Other games around the WCBL tonight, Moose Jaw Miller Express visiting Saskatoon in a meaningless game, and the Medicine Hat Mavericks visit the Swift Current 57s. Also, Sportscage.com poll, speaking of baseball, do you think that Vancouver will get a Major League Baseball franchise? I think not, but it's a cool discussion. Vote at Sportscage.com. I was going to say, I actually don't think it would be a bad thing at all if Vancouver got the Major League Baseball team. Sometimes I worry about what it would do to the CFL. Like I even worry, what if the Montreal Expos did come back? Something that I've always been dreaming of for decades, but what would it do to the Alouettes? And when you think about how much the Blue Jays hurt the Toronto Argonauts, you wonder if it would be a good thing or a bad thing. I choose to believe we don't have to live in fear. I think it would be just fine. If anything, it might actually help because if the Calgary Stampeders are playing in Vancouver against the BC Lions, more people from Calgary might say, hey, let's make a weekend out of it. Let's go watch the MLB team and we'll go watch the Stampeders play the Lions. Just like if they're playing on the same networks, they can cross-promote, etc., etc. But I do think that there is a hunger for more big league sports in Canada that is not hockey and that is not Toronto. I think the CFL does a great job of filling that void, and I don't think it would hurt if we got another MLB team. I'm not so excited about the NBA. It just seems like there's a lot more sizzle than steak, where so many teams are not even part of the conversation. There's a lot of irrelevant games being played in the National Basketball Association. Actually, like Scott Schultz said in our last segment, there's a lot of laziness that's been creeping into the NBA with load management and things like that. So I think they've got a lot of problems too. So if I had my preference for other big league sports teams that we're adding to Canada, number one, I wish we just had more CFL teams. But number two, I would say Major League Baseball, Montreal and or Vancouver. One of the comments on the YouTube chat, U.S. labor laws allowed Baltimore to use All-American players. You're kind of right. Glenn Imlach, 1892 is the handle. The reality is they tried to get the American teams to follow the Canadian ratio. And I remember Fred Anderson, this nice old man. He was like the 496th richest man in America. He had some construction products company. Anyways, he owned the Sacramento Gold Miners, and he was open to using Canadians. But they realized that that is not enforceable under U.S. labor law to have, mandated Canadians, just like it wouldn't be enforceable under Canadian labor law if there was a rule you had to have so many Americans. It just doesn't work that way. If you're going to have affirmative action, it has to support labor for the country in which that organization resides. You know what? I think the Canadian player ratio is fine. I think they can leave it how it is. Again, I made the opinion earlier that it would be better, in my view, if you just said 4 Canadians on the field at all times. I think it would be a lot easier to administer. It'd be less confusing, and it would help us develop more Canadians at non-Canadian positions. You'd have a more variety of them. But I even think that if the CFL gets to a point where they expand outside of Canada, I think it would be just fine as well, because there's other ways you can compensate the Canadian teams for having to use Canadians competing against other franchises that do not. Coach Mace had some comments earlier today at Saskatchewan Roughrider practice where he responded about whether or not he's frustrated with the key injuries they seem to be getting week after week.
Injuries happen in football, man. It's just, you can't, before the season, if you could just circle it up and we can anticipate that who's going to get hurt when, that'd be awesome, but that's just not how it goes. But that's why you have a full roster, a full locker room full of people, and they prepare themselves as if they're going to have to play. So we've, it's just kind of been what it is since we've been here. And really anywhere else I've ever been, it's part of the game, sadly.
Two of their most important Canadians are not going to be playing this week, who they did have last week, Kian Schaefer-Baker and Tavon Campbell. We still don't know about Sam Emilus. We've got the injury report up on the YouTube feed, but a lot of important players, a lot of important Canadians out. Albert Awachi, Tavon Campbell, Emilus is still questionable. They might get him back. He didn't play in Edmonton, and a big reason why they survived that game in Edmonton without Emilus was because of the efforts of Kian Schaefer-Baker. And so now if they don't have him, who's going to step up? Johnny Johnson III will probably get more action. But again, it's that whole Canadian player ratio. You've got to replace those guys. Josh Woods, another questionable player on defense. So they're going to have a lot more trouble this week, even if Sam Emilus plays, I think, from an injury standpoint. But thankfully for Saskatchewan, they're playing the 0-7 Ottawa Redblacks and not the first place Edmonton Elks. That'll do it for another edition of the Sportscage Special. Thank you to all of our guests, Scott Schultz, Mark McConkey, Crofty, everybody else, and especially Colson Schultz for putting this all together and keeping us on the air. On behalf of our entire crew, this is Brendan McGuire saying thanks for listening and watching, and good night from Regina.
It's 6 o'clock. Good evening. Mostly cloudy and 24 degrees in Regina. I'm Will Manzik from the SAS Today newsroom with 620 CKRM News. An exchange of goods has been completed between the Regina Food Bank and Greater Vancouver Food Bank. The Regina Food Bank has received 26 pallets of fresh BC produce, including carrots, corn, parsley, and kale. The Greater Vancouver Food Bank has received 22 pallets of lentils, rolled oats, soup mix, and pasta. The Regina Food Bank says this exchange demonstrates that Canada produces food in abundance, but it's not always available where communities need it.